Coming to you from the Lone Star Studio in Austin, Texas, this is Til'ton the Scales, with your hosts Nathan Logan the Heartbreak Kid, Chet
Evening,
Bowen, and friend of the show the
Chester
Freaking
Bowen and
Rican, Jose Battle.
Jose. Welcome to another episode of Tilton the Scales. Wally is somewhere off in the wilderness where there's no cell service and no power potentially. Maybe he's trying to simulate being in North Carolina right now. I'm not really
Oh my
sure.
goodness.
He's probably working on his survival skills and
Yeah.
camping or something. But we're happy to have Jose. This is his first initial conversation with us on Tilting the Scale. So Jose's one of my good friends from the military. Known him for a long time. Actually, he was at my first duty station. Was where we first met in Korea. And I was a young man, and he was a strapping young leader in the NCO. But he joined after college. Is that correct, Jose?
No, I joined later in life. I was just I didn't go to school. I was working, and then I got married and decided I was needed something with a little more stability. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. I knew that you were older. I just wasn't sure if you
yeah.
had gone to college,
Nah.
graduated, and then moved on. But
Well, I
yes, he
did
was.
take some college classes. I just never finished.
Yeah. So he was one of the elder leaders in a leadership, or he was one of the kind of non-typical leaders because he was a leader before because of his age and maturity, and then you get groomed into a leadership. Anyway, he was one of the older guys that
Yeah.
we always had a passion for sports. Uh, that was a common ground for us, and then he was just an overall good guy and a good leader. So kind of took me and a group of our friends under his wing and led us in the right direction, if you will.
Well,
So.
Jose, thank you for that, because when Nate left in high school, I was not happy because I was like, where's my friend going? Who's going to take care of him? And so thank you for that.
You're welcome. He was a good man, and I always just tried to. I always looked at it like, hey, these are my brothers and sisters. You got to take care of them. So
Nice. Nice.
Well, they've all appreciated that for sure. So I
Yep.
did, as I did as well. So, all right. So our first topic, we're going to start with some current events. So we'll start with the vice presidential debate on Tuesday. Uh, I really didn't get deep in the weeds on the context. I was just kind of like visually watching while I was doing some things around the house. Uh, and I thought one, it seemed like a very mature conversation between two adult individuals, who are running for president or representing
Vice President.
their respective uh, parties, and I thought that was refreshing, honestly. But other than that, as far as their, the topics of conversation and the questions and the answers, I really didn't think that anything stuck out as unusual or out of the ordinary for either one of them, and for what's been trending in the news as far as what their representation is, as far as how they're moving the party and what they want to do if elected, if they're them and their respective presidential candidate is voted into office. But I'll start with you, Chet. If you had
Oh,
anything
sure.
that you saw that
No,
you.
it was bland, as most vice presidential debates are, except for the one big issue. When you lose an election, you have to admit you lose an election. I think people are underestimating how important it is for a peaceful transfer of power. And when you have a microphone as big as they do, including the presidential candidate, in that case, you have to be like, yeah, we did lose that one, and we're coming back because we believe in our policies and we believe what we're going to do. We're going to win this time. But to still not admit that you lost in 2020 and still call into question the integrity of the process, it is going to create chaos, like an amazing amount of chaos that is, I think, irresponsible. That being said, other than that, I think that it was a pretty bland, like typical vice presidential debate. What about you, Jose? What do you think?
I was like Nate. I kind of just it was there, but I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
I agree with you in the fact that it was pretty bland. Everything was pretty much they stayed on script. The topic of what you said, admitting I'm all about it. You should just let it go. It's over
Mhm.
with.
Yep.
We're in a new cycle, so it's time to let that go and just say, all right, you know what, you won. And it's nobody likes a sore loser,
Right.
and so at the end of the day, you're sitting there looking at the guy and going, it's irregardless of whether you want what you believe. The fact is, it's 4 years later. It's time to let
Yep.
it go
Yep.
and look forward. I tell my kids, there's a reason the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. You got to look forward.
I
You
like
know,
that.
and you just got to let it go. Everything in the past is behind you. It's behind you. Keep it moving, and that's where I would say that's one of the few times where you say, hey, you're losing people here because right now people are looking at their checkbooks, they're looking at other things, and they're saying, okay, tell me what's going to benefit me. That's what they want to know. But I don't think either side really did that anyway. They just kind of blah blah blah. You know, people want to know, hey, I want to know on a day-to-day basis how it affects me. And so that's why I was with you where I thought it was very, very bland.
Yep. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's well said. I like the little quip and the put it in perspective. Look forward, not in the rear view. I like that little quirk that you used.
I like that too. I'm gonna steal that if you don't mind, Jose.
Oh, you're more. Well, I stole it from someone else. I don't even remember, but I just remember reading it and I thought, wow, that's really deep, but it makes so much sense.
I like that.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, Jose, because I've talked about this
I can hear you. Taking a drink.
on other shows, and I'll get Chet's perspective on your answer as well. But I've first of all, I know you might share the sentiment. When I watched the first presidential debate between Biden and Trump, it was just like, hand in my head, just looking down and shaking because I can't for the life of me think of why this is all the best that the free world has to offer to lead us into the next, you know, generation against, again, being the world police that we are, and the fact that the United States is almost always involved in everything political in the world. I just wonder if there's something that we can do, whether it be in the media, whether it be somehow with political parties, a way to inject more followers, more people to get interested. Because I feel like the only reason why it's two individuals that are 70 or 80 plus years old is because no one's paying attention. And it's not that people don't care. It's just, so how do you get that involved? I've kind of figured, like, again, you look at people that do podcasts, not us, but Joe Rogan. He's got 17.5 million subscribers to his podcast. Like, why wouldn't a party like say, hey, why don't I pick, or even the neutral party, the mediator, say, all right, here's a list of podcasters that we're going to put on the show live. They're going to live stream it to their conglomerates, and then again, where they're only going to ask two questions apiece, but they're going to be there. They're not going to mediate in any way. They're just going to ask a question, and again, you inject those type of people who are interested, who want to be informed, but just can't either stomach politics, or again, we've talked about politics being so polarized where it's you're either Republican or Democrat, and they disagree with each other on most things, and they'll never come to a common ground. And even a Democrat that agrees with a Republican won't ever admit it. They'll call it their own thing and change the wording. And so,
Yeah.
what would you suggest, or do you have a suggestion on how to inject a little bit more life into politics in this, and government in our society?
Well, I can tell you, I'm 55, so I grew up with, they you had cartoons where they taught you I'm only a bill and it tells you how everything works, and you were taught civics and you were taught economics and you were taught things that were basically life skills that you needed and things you needed to know. Now I think that education has gotten away from that. They're teaching tests. They're at the point where they're sitting there and saying, hey, we're just going to kind of give you the basic knowledge, and you're going to have to search for the information yourself. I said, the second part of your question, I think with the media is no longer the media. They are entertainment in the entertainment business. They want to polarize. They want to draw viewers. They want it. The 24-hour news thing is just a killer. I feel like Ron Burgundy, when you watch the movie, and he watches how it just,
Oh, the second one?
yeah, the second one. And it basically shows the destruction of the media. The guys with Walter Cronkite, where they said, hey, this is the information, you consume it and you digest it and, come up with your own conclusion, is gone. Now they give you narratives. Now they give you stories. Now they, you look at so many people. There's so many people out here that get along, and it's like you would think that we're all at each other's throats. You would think we're on the verge of racial war or whatever, depending on what channel you're on, and it's just disgusting. For every person that's taking journalism school, and even going to want to venture into politics, you need to look on yourself and say, hey, are we doing are the people a service or a disservice? And I think the media has done us a disservice. So much propaganda, we polarize everything, and we want to jump. They're so busy being first that they're not trying to be right. And that's where a lot of things get crossed up at. And that's my opinion, my humble opinion. When I look at it from the outside in, I remember watching Walter Cronkite and all those people at the end of the day, and they would come on, give you the information, and that was it. They didn't tell you their opinion of it. They didn't tell you their view of it. They said, here are the facts. Here's the information, and I think that's where we got to get back to.
So how do you think, so if you don't mind, how do you think we got here? Because I agree with every word you just said. It was very articulate. Like, how did we get here? Is it money? Is it, like, what is it?
Well, I mean, they reinvented the monopoly, and now you have a few people who own all these TV stations and all these news medias and outlets. And so now they basically say, hey, if you want a job here and you want to make a living, you're going to do it this way, or you're going to be out. And you've seen people get kicked out, and it's unfortunate. And there needs to be some kind of oversight over that. And it's pretty much in every business. You can go and look, and everything falls under 5 or 6 different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And that's just, there's no more free market, that, so to speak. And they pretend it is, but it isn't. So
yeah, I agree. If you think about it, Elon Musk, I don't know Elon Musk. I have no real opinion on the guy. I know he seems bizarre to some people, whatever. The guy has multi-billions. If people understood how much money $1 billion is, like if you understood just how much that is, and then you multiply that by multi-billions of dollars, that is an amount of influence over everything that would not have in like the 1980s. Not saying the 80s were great, but like there's no way that like just a few people, to your point, will be able to control that much. So we reinvented the monopoly 100%.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I agree with you. And I just don't know. I don't know the solution to it, because there's I know one of the first things if it was me, if I was a presidential candidate, the first thing I'd say is we're getting rid of lobbyists. It's just paid bribery.
Agreed.
And I think most people would agree, we need to get rid of lobbyists. Let's put term limits in. There's so much stuff that both people on both sides would agree on, but they don't bring it up because, I mean, you take a public service job, you get paid comfortably, but when you leave $100 million, $200 million in your pocket at a civil service job,
something's weird.
Yeah,
something's weird, right?
You need to put some NASCAR suits on so we know who's sponsoring. You know what I mean?
You have the sponsorships labeled on your 3-piece suit.
Oh yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Like you go into politics for all the right reasons. A lot of people do anyway, and you end up a multimillionaire at the end of it. And it's not just because of your speaking fees. Like you made some inside moves. It's pretty clear, and lobbyists are there. And so I think to clean it up is going to take someone with some serious balls to do it. Yeah. And Jose, I think you would do it. I would do it. I just the problem is I have zero idea avenue with which I would take to even start the process. Like we are clearly locked out of the process.
Well, yeah. Oh, yes,
I don't even
absolutely.
know how to start. And that's on purpose. That's by design that we are locked out. And I'm just trying to figure out like a way in.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I believe they've rigged this. They've rigged the game, and it's unfortunate. And when you watch it, you're saying to yourself, there's, and I think another symptom, the reason why we're not getting, there are people who have the money that can get in the game,
Mhm.
but they say to themselves, do I want my family scrutinized? Do I want my life scrutinized? Do I want, I was, for me, I know that I wasn't an angel. It wasn't until I left my hometown and joined the military and I grew as a person to get better. So would I want all those skeletons dragged out? And then, oh, by the way, do I want my kids, my grandkids, and they just, it's ridiculous. It's like
You're
I
right.
wouldn't care about me, but I wouldn't want my daughter or my son, my grandkids to have to look over their shoulder and paparazzi around. It's just, it's unfortunate.
I
It's
struggle with that too, Jose. Like I do struggle with that. There was a time that my story would have probably been, hey, the kid climbed himself out of the gutter and all the worst, like Nate, right? And then did all this stuff. And then I made some mistakes in my my early 30s that were not great. And so that would be the focus. Like as soon as I decided that I want to put myself out there to be a focus, I'm still thinking about it because part of me, to your point, Jose, is like looking at my kids and going, look, the world's out to get you. In this house, in this house, we are family, and I'm going to have your back and you're going to have mine. But no matter whether I decide to run for office or not, there's a whole world out there ready to go after my kids that I understand that. So in this house, they're going to be safe. So even if I ran for office, I don't know how different it is than just living life anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So I'm
Yeah,
still thinking about going out there and like making a push because I'm like, yeah, they're gonna focus on this couple of stupid dumbass things I did. And I even know we're recording right now. I'm saying it out loud. Dumbass things in like 2011 and 12. And mistakes I made being a person on this earth who is struggling with the way things are and trying to like make my way. Like everybody does, unless you are born into a scenario where you were given a script at birth about how to do things, we're all going to make mistakes. So
No, I agree with you.
we need somebody at a politician level who gets that, who's willing to take whatever heat comes with it, but still, most importantly, has integrity and is trying to do the right thing. And I do believe I can do that. It's just, again, where do I even start? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's a
Like
good
where do I
question.
even start? Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, Nate,
we've
I cut you off. My bad.
no, you're good. I was just going to say that we've before in earlier content we've discussed ways on how to not fix but like kind of even the playing field, right? We
Yeah.
talked about in a sense of having a cap space for the presidential, primary and who your candidate is, and like a spending cap for each party, and and also, in order to run for president, you've got to put your own money up for that, and there's only a certain dollar amount that you can put up, so you got to have that money, and to your point, Chet, like, yeah, you're right. Like, where do we start? Like, I don't know. I always think that there's smarter people than me that are thinking about these things, and it's almost their job to like improve society, improve things on a daily basis. And I keep saying to myself, like, well, maybe they should hear some of our ideas, like maybe they're not thinking as rudimentary or like as open-minded as I am. I don't, or we are, because I do think that something needs to be done. Now, I also think that again, the more people that we get to watch these things, and again, the vice presidential debate, 43.15 million people watched it, supposedly, according to the censorship.
That's what they say. Yeah. Yep.
And again, that's more than any NFL game this year, but only by it does double like the most viewed NFL game this year. But it's still to think like there there's last I checked, is there's over 300 million people in America, right? So
So
we're
think
still
about
not.
extrapolate from that. Everybody over 18, they should have been watching that debate, right? If you really give a shit. So 300 million, everybody over 18, let's call it like 200 million, maybe, or like 180 million.
Yeah.
The fact that
Well, I mean, I'd like them. I'd like those people to watch, and I think
so
they should be a part of that. But again, how do you like? We've talked about it before. Like, I'd love to see again within the presidential debate having like Dude Perfect, like the I think everybody knows who that is, but like he's got so many followers on YouTube, like, and he's not politically charged either way, but I think that him, if he were invited, he would get on board with that because, like, let's call it "Make America Great Again." Like, even though it was somebody's campaign slogan, like, let's just call it that. And how do we do that? Like, let's educate or get everybody involved, touch as
oh
many people as we can. So, like, again, if you get four people or five, or let's call it six, three on each side, they get to choose. Democrats and Republicans get to choose who they are, but it's got to be a list of like the top 10, YouTube subscribers or podcast subscribers, and those are the top 10 names, and you get to pick three of them, and they just sit on the panel. They live stream while they're up there. They ask a couple questions. They get people involved. They talk about the process leading up to. So again, like, they should have maximum subscribers online viewing it while when they're doing it. I just there needs to be some sort of new blood injected into politics, and I don't know. Like
think
you said, I don't know where it starts and how to
yeah.
do that. But that's my idea, and like I said, I think there's smarter
Well,
people
what
than
else you need to know?
these things.
Like to Jose's point, it's been rigged for a long time. And the way that we know that is that for many years in American politics, sure, you had to be 35 or older to be president, but we just keep creeping up older and older and older for our presidents. And the reason for that is that it's rigged. The party system is rigged. And so you find yourself like with older and older presidents over the past few years, especially. Obama might, you put him sort of like he might be not the same, but like the past, what is it, 16 years, 8 years, whatever it is, they're getting older and older
Yeah.
because it's they're trying to find a way to subvert the vote, as in like give you two people to choose for and have everybody at the party level do what they do all the way down to grassroots just to get one of two candidates. So the candidates themselves, they don't have to appeal to the greater cause that America is looking for. They have to appeal only to their party. So they get the backing of their party. And that's what's happened. Whereas back in the day, as a candidate, if you're looking to run for president of the United States, you had to find a way to get, 200 million people out of that to agree at a majority level that you are the best candidate for everybody. And that's a long gone process. Now it's about just appealing to your own party, having them back you, and then hoping for the best with Michigan. Like that's that's
Yeah.
where we're at now.
Yeah. I think part of it too is I think people really don't understand is where they focus so much on these presidents, vice presidents, they don't realize you have people sitting in Congress that can't even walk up a flight of stairs. They've been there 40 years.
Yep.
These are the people that have been destroying it, eroding it for decades. People want to say, "Oh, Trump, Trump, Trump," but the dude was literally a businessman up until he became president, and then he went back to it. And it's like he was not part of the problem. He was just using the system that that problem created to his advantage. So don't get mad at him because there's a lot of people did it, and so you should be mad at the people who created the system. We need to focus on getting rid of these lifer congressmen, lifer senators. That's why I said term limits. You got to go. You can't be here for 40 years anymore. I mean, you're old and decrepit, and you're just you can't even. I mean, but Joe Biden walked out there, and you could tell that he was not there the last few years. You could just tell he was, and unfortunately, it's not his fault, but he was a career politician, And I think you should have to build some. I believe you should have to be like, hey, you can't even become a politician until you're in your 30s. So that way you have to go get out of college and go to work a real job, go be part of the system. They say, okay, now I understand. I started my own business. Now I understand how these taxes affect the business. Things like that. But that's my opinion. And
Yeah, I like it.
for you, Chet, I think the big thing is getting people to understand the biggest impact on their lives is going to be your local people. So if you can get into something local, maybe a mayor type thing, and start getting people to understand, hey, we got to start taking care of holding our local people accountable first. Then we can start working our way up the chain.
Yep, I
So,
agree.
and I believe you're an intelligent man. You're willing to admit that you made mistakes, and so for me, I'm looking at it. Okay, well, I can back this guy because he's up here saying I'm perfect, and that's a great thing because
Yeah,
so many of them have this image, and we live in an image. Especially with social media, everything's about image. It's about my brand, and they hide so much stuff. There's no more human beings. There's no more people making mistakes. Everybody's perfect.
I think covering up the issue or covering up the lie becomes bigger than the lie itself.
Agreed.
And that's problematic. I will say this because especially because we're recording. I hear what you're saying about Trump, but I do think Trump is a huge problem. The man who it's all about, in my opinion, just watching him, it's about him. He does appeal to people because like, oh, he's different, but like I think the human being, and I have a background in psychology, so like I'll just say this, like I'm watching him and I'm like, he's not thinking necessarily about the group of people that are cheering him. He's thinking about how to get the cheers, like a wrestler, like how to get
how to get that pop.
Yeah, he's thinking about how to get the pop. He's not thinking about the reality behind what he's saying. So I do think that he himself is a huge problem. However, you're right about the fact that he just saw this is the landscape. How do I manipulate this landscape to my benefit? So we as a country have gotten to a point where we allowed this to happen, where instead of someone's values coming first, it became how charismatic are they? Because that's a charismatic dude. That guy,
yeah.
right?
Well, and you look at that guy and you say to yourself, okay, and I had a thought when you were talking. I thought to myself, the funny thing is, if you go back, and I remember the original USFL, and if you just go back and you watch him when he joins the USFL and how he runs it in the ground with his ego, with his attitude, everything about I'm taking the NFL, and that's that he hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. So don't be surprised when you see him because he's literally the same guy he was 70s, 80s, 90s. He's exactly the same guy. The only problem is he has a bigger platform now.
Agree. Yes. So that's what I mean, right? Like he saw the landscape. He knows how to take advantage of it. I honestly think having Donald Trump as president is the same as if we had Vince McMahon as president. The two guys are like the exact same person. You know what I mean? Like it's very, they don't believe they're egomaniacs. They both actually believe that they're not, but they both absolutely are. And it's insane to me. Nate, you're back though. I'm gonna make a drink. I can still hear you guys. I'm making a drink.
Yeah.
Jose, you haven't made a drink in a while. I'm a little.
I got my drink right here. I sit there. But yeah, I know I'm with you. He does, but I also think that in the same way, he does generally love the country. I think he loves America. He wants, he kind of wants to do the right thing. The problem with him is he's an all or nothing guy, and he needs to learn to compromise. I think if he was compromising more, he'd get along more. What do you think, Nate?
Man, I only voted for that guy because he had money, and I thought that he couldn't be corrupted. And some of that's true, but some people with money like more money just as much. So I don't know. I agree with you guys on most of the points, honestly. I don't know. Like Chet said, I don't know where to start. I think probably with what you said about putting terms on congressmen, that's probably where we should start because there shouldn't be people in the same seat for 20 plus years. I mean, that doesn't happen in the military for a reason. Like we're all you either advance
or get out.
Yeah. And if you don't advance to the next, and normally when you advance, you're you're moved to another unit, another element, so it's a different different body of influence that you have to now work your leadership style with. So yeah, it's I mean, that's on a small scale, right? But again, I think
Yeah.
it should be the same with the politicians.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. You need to be, progressing, and eventually, you know, as you get to the top of that bottleneck, hey, all you guys should be trying to get to become the president. And if you're not getting there, then hey, your time's done. Time, clock's up, punch out, and move on and go do something else.
Yeah,
Um, it's and I also believe that, hey, if you're going to enact something for the people, that needs to apply to you. That's one of the things that I don't want, hey, don't push this medical stuff on me, or this, you know, laws on me, but it doesn't apply to me. We don't want guns here, but I can have my security around me with, loaded up to the hilt. Well, so
right.
you can be protected, but we can't be protected. You can go get this Cadillac insurance, but we can't. There's just so many things that they do that, and even the military retirement, their retirement should, mirror the military's. If you're going to be that way, hey, you know what? We're going to mess with military retirement. Well, if yours mirrors theirs, I guarantee they're not going to mess with the military retirement.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, I think we spent enough time talking about
We sure did.
presidents and the presidents to be elected, hopefully
But
soon
Jose,
someday.
respect, man. I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I,
No, I like the dialogue. I like the
Me too.
conversation, the back
Me
and
too.
forth.
Yep. Yep.
Again, friendly political conversations. It's so weird how you can walk into, I shouldn't say church, and I won't say church, but I
You just
did.
said church.
I said it twice. But you walk into a bar and people don't want to talk politics because it gets them too heated, and they'll get into a tizzy, so to speak. If you can't have adult conversations and have a conversation where it's not heated, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I want to kill you or I want to
Exactly.
fight you. Like we
Yep.
can disagree and be adults. I'm
emotion
not
don't,
gonna.
yeah, I agree with you.
I'm
Emotion
not
don't tell
gonna.
us it's a lost art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll move on to our next current event topic is the flooding caused by
Oh,
Hurricane Helena, which is, if you guys haven't seen it in the news, of course, North Carolina got the worst of it because it seemed to, I don't know if you guys were around for Hurricane Harvey or paid attention to Hurricane Harvey, but that system just, once it hit landfall, kind of just stuck around the Houston area and just spun, and created a lot of havoc because it just dumped torrential rain onto an already saturated land, just like it did in South Carolina, or excuse me, North Carolina, as it moved towards the ocean. A cold front, so to speak, or cold air from the ocean, kept it on land and just made it so it dumped inches upon inches of water onto an already saturated uh, land in North Carolina specifically. So they're devastated there. I posted on our Facebook page a place to donate to Save Our Allies. Which Save Our Allies, if you guys aren't familiar, it was an organization that was started during the drawdown in Afghanistan,
yep.
uh, and they went in to Afghanistan, the Kabul airport, and were trying to get Americans out by going outside the perimeter, which was manned by Marines. And then, of course, if you know anything about how everything went down, the insurgents or terrorists or whatever you want label you want to put on the people that were taking over Afghanistan as we were pulling out, they created an outer cordon or an outer perimeter just ahead of our perimeter, and they were not allowing people to go through there to get to the airport. So anyway, Save Our Allies had American names. They had help from people in Congress, from the Pentagon, vetting people, going out into town or wherever their location was, basically, in a sense, rescuing them. I call it kidnapping just because the Taliban were trying to find those same individuals and not allow them to leave. So they were going out and rescuing those individuals, getting them past the Taliban's perimeter and then into the airport and then on a plane. And they're actively in North Carolina right now, trying to get some relief efforts. If you go to their website, they've already, I think it's $400,000 has already been donated to them for relief efforts. So it's a good cause to give to, and I know that the money will get to where it goes. I can't specifically say where it would go. I just know that it'll probably predominantly go to where the money is needed most, which is there somewhere around Asheville region of North Carolina. Uh, did you Bragg is in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, it's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I spent 10 years on Fort Bragg. Fort
Yeah. Are you?
Liberty now.
Yeah,
I still
Fort
call it Fort
Liberty.
Bragg, but yeah.
Are you
Uh,
familiar with the area then that's
uh,
affected?
yeah, I'm familiar with most of that area, and a lot of my friends that I have back there are doing well, thank God. Um, it's tough because I remember that was my first duty station, and I was there, and I was a little private, and we had a hurricane hit, and I was blessed that I still had power and could get out. But as I drove in the base, there was trees down on people's cars, this, that, and the other, and we were out with chainsaws, kind of helping the community, and it was crazy because you're sitting there, you're like, I had never seen a hurricane because growing up in Pennsylvania, it's just not a thing you get. And then going down there, seeing it, I was one of those idiots that's outside looking at it because I was like, I want to see it. This is Mother Nature at its worst, and so we're there, we're looking, and it's like the devastation, and it's tough because all that water, all that, and where the eastern side is closer to sea level, so you're not going to get a lot of drainage. Asheville's more in the mountains, which is they're a little luckier, but again, that region stays cooler, so it doesn't dry up as fast. So it's like it's crazy, but I worry about people, but I was lucky. The people that I know there have been safe. They're safe and everything's okay. Um, that whole East Coast, it's just one of those things. I mean, I think a lot of people there have gotten used to living there, so they kind of know what they're doing with it. I think it's more of the people that move there and haven't been through it that are like, oh crap.
Like what's happening? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen from watching the news and stuff, just no story after story of strangers helping strangers, which is great. I remember when we were going through Hurricane Harvey. I mean, there was just a lot of things that didn't need to happen that did happen, and it was mostly people not being prepared, not thinking ahead, and it was just whether it was their ignorance or their inexperience, I couldn't tell you which it was, but it was probably a combination of both. But you're always going to find that when it comes to natural disasters and wherever it hits in regions. But it's always good to see the communities come together. This is also why I feel like, and we had a presidential candidate assassination attempt, right? Some
Yeah.
people have talked about civil war, like it's bound to happen. Like this is some of the reasons why I think that it'll never happen, because just because one person has that ideology and has the influence to do violence in a political realm against unarmed individuals or armed, however that works out. I just think that there are too many people that care about each other and come together during conflict. In times like this, when you help strangers out, like I have a hard time thinking that because my thoughts are different than yours, we're going to have a war about, there's going to be a split and it's going to be a civil war. I find a hard time thinking like that and thinking that that'll ever happen. So.
Well, yeah, and also geopolitically, Nate, like the Civil War that did happen was when the whole world seemed more separated than it is now, right?
Yeah.
So like people in the Civil War, it was a very small area of land and a very few different issues they were fighting about. if America doesn't stick together now, and I think everybody knows it, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, whatever it is, if we don't stick together right now, we are in serious trouble. So the idea that like one guy, Donald Trump, says, I lost an election, let's fight each other, like that's not really gonna happen. Like everyone knows that there are issues overseas in the Middle East, that there's other things that we have to focus on just to keep our shit together here. Like we're not gonna be fighting each other. I get the frustration, like within these borders with each other, but not to the level of like Jose and I are going to be on a battlefield, trying to hurt each other because we disagree over, I don't know, name it, whatever it is. Like that's not happening, not happening at all ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, Nate, on that one. I think that, what the media presents to us and what the reality is are two different things. Americans rally around. People will say, "Hey, they can kind of fight," but as soon as something bad happens, like you can go all the way back to 9/11. Everybody was kind of fighting, and 9/11 happens, and all of a sudden, no, never mind. We're all now. It's we refocused, and it just takes things like this, unfortunately, tragedy that makes us realize, hey, we're bickering over stuff that's not really important. Let's get back to the reality and let's support each other. And
Yep.
Americans are correct. That's one thing. We're like a family in that we fight, but then as soon as hey, someone comes at us, it's like, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna rally, we're gonna
on the same
circle the
side.
wagons. Yeah, we're circling the wagons. All of a sudden, now now you done focused us all on you, and that's not a good thing. So
we've gained fire superiority because you've given us a target to focus on. Yeah, for sure.
100%. Yeah, don't like it is a silly thing to come at us all. Like you see us fighting like Russia does, and they try to do their bots and all that shit. You see us all fighting each other over stupid shit, but we are all well aware it's stupid shit. If you come at us and like, oh, then we all band together. Like eventually the world will understand that, I hope. But like right now they still seem to try to poke the bear.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I did put on our Facebook page a link to donate to Save Our Allies.
Hey, can
you guys,
so I can share it too? Thank you.
I shared it on my personal Facebook, but all you need to do is go in and find it. But I would like you to share it as well. But also, I encourage you to do your homework. Just check out the page, check out the link, what they represent, how they're what they're doing with their money. Before you donate, if you want to, some people want to donate to Tennessee specifically. Some people want to, again, I think this money will go to where it's needed most. The majority of it will, and then, the rest will be dispersed to other areas that are in need of money or relief efforts. So please like and share if you can. Doesn't need to be right now, but like and share that if you wouldn't mind.
Hey, I'm not seeing the link. There it is. There it is.
You're looking at that was my thread, man. That was one of the reels of my story. Major Pain, man. That was a good movie. All right, so now we can move on to some football talk that we're going to talk about. So we'll start with the Pats against Miami. We'll do a preview of that, and then we'll move it. I want to do a preview of the Cowboys and Steelers, since we got Jose on, a Steeler apologist. So we'll talk to him about that.
Hey, first off, all you Patriot fans just need to thank the Steelers because Robert Kraft basically stole the model that the Steelers were using. Hey, we're not going to fire coaches. We're going to try to get QB. We're going to play great defense. And oh, by the way, there was a lot of Steelers that ended up playing for the Patriots while they were getting rings. So,
Well, we'll let you.
You're welcome for Mike Vrabel and a couple other guys.
Nate, can I take what I said back about the Civil War? Because Jose and I are getting on.
Hey, I have great respect for the Pats because they did it. Over the last 20 years, they did it better than we did.
They did it better than most. Yeah, for sure. But I've told you before, Jose, and Chet, I've said this many times, that we were just as lucky as we were good. We just prepared for a lot of things, Sometimes luck is when planning and preparation meet execution, but
Yeah.
in all honesty, sometimes somebody gets injured. Sometimes somebody misses a field goal. Little things like that. It is luck, a stroke
Sometimes
of
Pete
luck.
Carroll's an idiot and doesn't run the ball.
Yeah, that too.
Sometimes Pete Carroll decides to throw the ball.
Yeah. Sometimes he wants to make Russell Wilson a star instead of giving the ball to Beast Mode.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
listen, beast mode on that run, the run before, just to be fair, got tackled by a one-armed man.
True, but he got 5 yards. So you have one timeout and 3 downs to go 1 yard. I mean, I take my chances with beast mode. I guarantee you, Tom Brady. If the roles reversed, and Tom Brady had beast mode, he'd look at Bill and be like, "That's not happening. We're giving the ball to him."
Called an audible. Yeah, called an audible.
Jose, if you could do me a favor, Jose, if you
What's
could do me
that?
a favor, if you can stop just dropping facts, that'd be great.
Hey, it's a tough rule that came out of nowhere. Nobody knew about that rule ever.
Oh,
But
yeah, I know that rule. I knew that the whole time.
Charles Woodson and the Raiders are there. Them guys are just like, still fuming on that years later.
When I saw that happen, my first thought was,
Cool, yeah.
we're good. We're good. His arm's moving forward. We're good.
But you got to ask yourself, how bad are the Raiders? Because not only the Pats with the tuck rule, but the immaculate reception. And that sets the Steelers rolling. So,
the Raiders.
Yeah. So,
and that's America. We found a common enemy.
There you go. Hey, look, the Raiders are just bad. Hey, if you want to start a dynasty, you got to beat the Raiders in the playoffs on a crazy play that's going to live forever.
Immaculate reception, tuck rule, dynasty. That's the formula. That's the formula.
I'm just saying. Hey, it's kind of weird, but
I like it.
Both teams have 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, the formula for victory for the Patriots this week should be running the ball. Now, I think, again, it's basically a push as far as Vegas is seeing it, but it is New England, in New England against Miami, division rival, all that jazz. We don't look good at all on either side of the ball the last couple weeks.
Nope.
But Miami looks even worse, especially on the offensive side. So I really think we got a chance to pull out another win. Again, it'll be at home. Are you going to this one, Chet?
I'm not, but I thought about it. Yep, I'm not, though. I'm a season ticket holder, Jose.
Okay. I'm not mad at you.
You should be going, man. But anyway, yeah, the line is Miami -1. So Miami's 1-point favorite. Again, we need to establish the run right off the jump. First, second, and third down, run it and go for it on 4th down if we get something, if we get into a position. I'm just joking about the 4th down, but we need to establish a run. We've gotten away from that. Our quarterback has a hard time staying upright. Our offensive line is having a hard time adjusting coverage, adjusting protection to keep our quarterback upright. I mean, there's a lot of holes that we have, but I think running the ball is a very good cure for all of our woes. Because again, like offensive linemen and defensive linemen would unless you're an end, like they want to tackle somebody, and offensive linemen want to move forward. So it's always better for them to be on the offensive than backpedaling and trying to stop someone from running past them. Like they'd rather move forward, pull, and same with tight ends, and then get moving upfield and hit somebody. So I think our recipe for a win is heavy dose of running, some play action built off of the run, and I think we have a chance of, with our defense. Again, our defense is no slouch, but our defense against that offense, they throw Tyler Huntley out there again. Like I don't see any reason why we can't hold them to less than a touchdown or a touchdown and a field goal. And with our offense, we should be able to score more than 10 points and get a victory. Even if 7 of those points are scored by our defense, getting a fumble return. I know, I'm optimistic, but What do you
You're so
think,
optimistic.
Chet? We'll go to you. We'll go to
I
you
want
first, Chet.
I want to be optimistic, but when I look at football, I see it very like XO, right? So they have A-Chain, Waddle, and Hill.
Yeah.
And so even if their quarterback is the worst, if they do a reverse or a double reverse, that's a touchdown right there. If they, if like they're handing out to A-Chain, who's doing great right now. So it's like their key to victory is also running the ball, because we haven't been great at that as a defense. I love Christian Gonzalez. I will stand up for him all day long. But when I look at the game, I look at two shitty teams basically, and who has the better skill position players. And as long as we choose not to play Drake May, I see Miami with the edge on that one. I want to win. Like, trust me, I will be here pumping my fist, ringing the touchdown bell. Oh, by the way, Jose,
Yes.
every time the Patriots score a touchdown, I have a touchdown bell that I ring, and both my kids get an airplane ride every time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let's just say this. They've been
Kids are a
missing.
little starved for attention.
Yeah. They've been starved for attention. Yep.
We're questioning your parenting skills.
But Nate, to your point about like running, like controlling the clock and doing the whole thing, I agree that that's the strategy. But like they have better skill players than we do, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I hope we win, but I think we're being optimistic. Jose, what do you think?
Well, I will say that the Dolphins, even in the Patriots' good years, were a pain in the butt to the Patriots.
Yep.
But I will say that I think in this sense, when you're looking at with Tua out, Tua was a little underrated because he was really smart at the line of scrimmage mentally.
He sure was. Yep.
So you see the difference now that he's not there. I think with the Patriots, if I was the Patriots, I like Nate's idea of running, but I also I would like to see play action pass on first down. I'd like to see some hey, we're going to play action and then we're going to throw back to the left, some screens, some draws, a little shovel pass. Hey, we're going to drop a coach setback. The back's just going to let the guy come up middle and he's just going to shovel pass to him. Just kind of slow that pass rush down. So then the line has ability to block. And defensively, I think if you just kind of, if you can keep Miami from going over the top and hitting that home run, you have a legitimate chance of winning the game. Because that's Miami's bread and butter. They hit those home runs. And when they don't, the games are always competitive and close. I like the Patriots team in a majority. Me personally, I wouldn't have drafted Drake May. I would have drafted Line first round and said, hey, we need to shore this up because I don't care who's standing back there. If you're getting knocked down 20 times, it doesn't do you any good. It's like Troy Aikman his first year with the Cowboys. Until he got that offensive line, he was getting the crap beat out of him, and it wasn't, and everybody was down on him. So,
that's true. It's true.
That's my opinion. I think Mayo's going to have a good plan to keep them from trying to hit the home run. As long as they don't, it'll be close. The question is like, who's going to run the ball for the Patriots consistently?
Yeah,
that's that. Therein lies your dilemma. They don't have that bell cow like they've had in the past for here and there. So where do you get that guy?
At all. Also, I was there when I saw the DK Metcalf. I was there in person and I watched it happen. And like, again, I coach football and looking at it and I was like, how? Like I'm a small person compared to like Gerard Mayo. And I was watching this play happen and I was like, how did they let DK Metcalf get that up? Because they could have won that game. And it was like 50 yards passing. And I was like, oh my God. So that's it. But also, Nate, I'm going to pivot for a second because we have a different team that we should talk about. Justin Fields.
Oh wait, no, I don't want to pivot. I don't want to pivot yet because all right.
Hold on.
Before we pivot, I do want us to like actually. So, my prediction is Pat 17, Miami 10, and again, I think Waddle and Hill, to your point, Jose, yes, Miami always does play us well. That's a division rival, division game. within our division, everybody plays everybody tough because we know each other. There's familiarization. We know the schemes, we know the personnel. Hill and Waddle are exceptional skill players. Same with Devon A. Chain and the guy that's backing him up, for crying out loud. I think Jeff Wilson's one of them, and somebody else that they drafted. But they have some good skill players. But they don't have they're in the same situation as us on offense where they're more inept, in my opinion, at quarterback. And their offensive line is a little banged up. That I won't go so far as to say that their offensive line is going to be as bad as ours, but I think with our defense, the way that it's played, we've given up a couple home runs. One to Debo Samuel last week. That was inexcusable. I mean, running wide open, but it was a good double move. I mean, it's not like there was a breakdown in coverage. That was man on man. He beat me. I'll take that on the chin. Uh, I think again, if we do things the way that we're capable of doing, running the ball will slow the game down. I like your idea, and I've always said it. We've got to do things to put the defense on their heels as opposed to having them continuously attack. If they're on our snap count in the first possession of the game, then we need to figure out and make an adjustment, which we haven't done well in the last 4 games. We haven't made adjustments well. We've made adjustments at halftime, but not in game, almost immediate feedback
Yeah.
of what's going on. So I think we need to do a better job of that. But I do think I don't see any reason why, with the way that their offense is played, that we can't, at a minimum, outscore their offense. Now, whether our offense does give up some points because we throw another interception run back for a touchdown or give up some fumbles, then you know, then it's a different ball game. But I have confidence that at home we can pull out this victory because I mean I guess I'm an apologist. I'm a Patriots apologist. So
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I
you look at Gerard Mayo, and he's a defensive guy.
yeah
And so when your defense is floundering, then that's really on you. You can't hide. If your offense is floundering, you're like, oh, that's why I hired an offensive coordinator. But he's a defensive guy, and
yeah
he needs to look at his coordinators and his assistants and go, hey, this is unacceptable. That's not how we do things here. And that's one of the things that I look at with him, because it's different when you're a coordinator versus being the guy in front of the microphone.
yeah
Um, and so when you sit down, when I look at him, that's where he needs to take accountability and say, hey, you know, this is where I built mine. For everything I've told you, I'm not the biggest fan of Tomlin, uh,
yeah
because for the Steelers and the Patriots, it's all about winning Super Bowls. And, he's kind of been lackluster the last decade. But
yeah
the one thing he has kept going is our defense has been pretty good for the last 5 years. I mean, without our defense, we wouldn't even be in games. I mean, that's last year, that's this year. So, you can say what you want, but Tomlin's a defensive guy. So that side of the ball that he's really good at stays solid. And that's where Gerard Mayo needs to say, hey, we need to be solid at least on this side of the ball. And then we'll find an offensive coordinator eventually. I mean, there were so many guys that were Patriots, that were offensive coordinators, and even some of the, quarterbacks could come back and probably teach it. But I just feel like,
Yep.
one, you hit something big, Nate, playing clean, not turning the ball over, not getting stupid penalties. You can't start first to 15 because you rocked in your stance. Those are the little things. Playing clean is important because when you're not as good offensively, you can't afford to be in a hole. And so, you know, and it's with my Steelers the same way. I watch it. You can't put yourself in a hole and expect to be dug out every time. Even Patrick Mahomes struggles, on 1st and 15. He's just happens to be make a play.
Does he?
He does. I mean, he does. I mean, he sits down and, people. I think the problem with him is I look at him like, okay, he's going to scramble around, so you have to keep him contained. He makes his magic on the run. He kind of reminds me a lot of John Elway. John Elway would sit in the pocket, But as soon as he was able to run right, throw the ball 50 yards across the field, 50 yards down the field on a flick of a wrist. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and John Elway, they parallel so much physically.
Yep.
And when you watch it, it's like when LA was just sitting, if you could contain him in the pocket and kind of get that push, and you had a little more success with him. Where with Tom, with the Patriots, you knew if I can get him off his mark, if I can make him move out of the pocket, I'm going to have a little more success. So depending on your quarterback, that's how you have to attack that quarterback.
Yeah, and that's where we were so good, is like that's what the defense was designing to do against an offense led by Tom Brady, was get to the quarterback, pinch those DNs in closer, don't try and move around the offensive lineman, get Tom Brady to get his clock ticking faster to move or try and escape. But then that's also, again, ingenuity, right? We're going to do a two-step drop, get the ball out, instead of a three-step drop, get the ball out. The whole timing of the offense was what would change in those certain predicaments, and that's one thing we haven't done. And I do like your idea of play action on first down, but against the Jets, we were down 21 in the first half. And I don't think we're going to score 21 unanswered points. But if you're down 21 in the first half, there's no reason to deviate from your original game plan because we already know we're not going to be able to score 21 unanswered points in 5 minutes, right? So your offensive game plan isn't the problem. It was your defensive game plan that got you down 21, right? So stick to running. You've got 2.5 more quarters of football, so don't deviate from a run first offense because you feel like you got to score quicker. Like that when it's the fourth quarter, then we should be in the 2-minute offense the entire time in the fourth quarter that we possess the ball on offense. But there's no need for you to deviate from your plan if you're down 21 in the first and you've only had in the first half, you only had 3 possessions on offense. Like yes, we can deviate slightly, but we don't need to become a run first or a pass first offense, and don't even bring it back out to keep the defense honest.
The Patriots cannot be a pass first offense. That's not who they are.
No, but they can disguise a lot of things. Like you can bring out a 4-wide set with a running back.
Good. Yep.
And make the defense bring out their nickel package, and you run a delay up the middle or something. There's a lot of, again, I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to football or anything in life. I'll never say that I'm the smartest. But why are these adjustments not being made in the game when I don't necessarily think of these things in game, but some people are getting paid to think these very things in game, and they get paid very well. So
they do get paid very well.
I don't understand it. And they, like you mentioned, Jose, about having good offensive and defensive coordinators. It's different than being a head coach because one's a little bit more managerial and like managing schedules and people and personalities. The other is probably a lot more exo involved and hands-on coaching and scheming things with players. And I just don't understand why. I understand why we have the people in place that we do, and I'm willing to give them an opportunity to prove their worth. But I don't understand why on offense we didn't go out and get what we thought was the best thing since sliced bread on the offensive side of the ball to allow the guy that we just drafted to have a mentor, have somebody that they're on the same page every day, in practice, out of practice, on the game. Same with Jacoby Brissett, and we're just building every day. There's so many talented offensive coordinators. And again, maybe what's his name? Is it it's not Wolf, he's the dang GM.
Elliot Wolf is the GM.
Yeah, who's our offensive Alex
Van Pelt.
Yeah, Alex Van Pelt. I mean, this is his first year calling plays, right? I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing, but it doesn't look like he's you know, putting
I'd
putting
like
in
Josh
time.
back.
It doesn't look like he's putting in extra time after practice trying to figure out a way to get his quarterback more time to throw the ball or like how do I take the defensive pressure off of my quarterback in these situations? It doesn't look like it from the product that we see on the field, but again,
Yeah.
again, I'm optimistic. My pick is Pat 17-10.
Okay.
Chet,
Jose,
what's your pick?
Oh wait, which one?
What's your pick, Chet?
Mine, and I hate it. I can't stand it. That I'm gonna say this. It's 24-10 Dolphins.
24-10. What was your pick for San Fran? You had like a 30-3 pick for
Yeah,
San Fran, I think.
yeah.
You were almost on the money with that. But,
I was almost on the
all
money.
right. So you got Miami, huh? Man. Who you got, Jose?
Well, this is a tough one, and it's, Miami's trotting out a guy that will, but if he gets lucky and can hit a couple passes, I want to say, I would probably say maybe I would look at it and say, okay, we're going to go. I would probably say 17-9 Dolphins.
17-9.
Oh, so you're thinking 3 field goals?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think the
that's
Patriots. I think they put drives together. They just don't finish.
I agree. I agree. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I hope that we have 3 opportunities to get 3 field goals, but we've also been real bad at taking the points when we can get them and trying to because we are close. Like, yes, I know the science says go for it, but it looks a lot better to get 3 points when you can get 3 points. Bill Belichick was a master at that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what analytics is. I still think no matter where you are, away or home, if you go down and you're inside the 20 and you don't get it on fourth and whatever it is, doesn't matter, then that's a momentum swing for the other team. Even though you feel like you're pinning them back again with their back against your end zone. Like I just unless your defense is out of this world, I don't think that helps you at all. Uh, so yeah, all right. I like the picks. I hope, or our guy hit a 63, a New England record, right? 63.
Yeah.
Joey Sly, 63-yard
Let's
field
fly,
goal.
baby. Let's
Yeah,
go.
63-yard field goal. That was pretty legit, man. He's undrafted. Nobody ever heard of him before he hit the field up there in Gillette Stadium. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy for him. Pretty
I like it. I like that guy.
So let's move on
What's our next
to,
one?
huh?
What's our next topic? That was my question.
Yeah, we're moving on to where you wanted to move on to a little while ago with talking about Justin Fields, man, and the Pittsburgh
Oh,
Steelers.
let's go. Let's
So
go.
I'm pretty psyched about this game. This is a primetime game against Dallas Sunday night. Vegas has Pittsburgh favored by 2.5. I'd give them 3 points for sure. I think Pittsburgh is going to take this game. Their defense is just too good. Dallas is struggling offensively. Their defense isn't doing well against anyone, and I just think I'm not sure of what it's going to look like the score just yet, but I think if Justin Fields continues to do what he does and manage the game, go out there, get some key first downs. I think they need to run the ball better against Dallas for sure, and be a little bit more balanced. But I think Pittsburgh, almost walks away with this, and I'll let Jose break it down for us a little bit better than I did, and what his take is on it.
Let's go, Jose.
So now here we are with my Steelers. Mike Tomlin is notorious for losing games that he's supposed to win.
Mm-hmm.
He is. He's just, and I will say, even last week, huge turnover that kind of cost him the game, but they still had a chance to win it at the end. But I think Arthur Smith, I agree with you, Nate. They need to run the ball better. I think our offensive coordinator needs to understand, hey, Najee Harris is a downhill runner. We need to be in line, get him some, bring a tight end in motion, kind of give him a lead blocker, let him do his thing. If we're gonna run that stretch like the Terrell Davis Broncos used to, well, then you're gonna have to bring Warren or Cordell Patterson in. Those are your guys that can run that better because they are one cut guys that they're going to get in there and they're going to go laterally and then boom, put their foot in the ground and go. That's not Najee Harris. Najee Harris is more of a power runner, more of a he can make cuts. He's slow plays things, so it allows him to kind of read. But if you're not going to give him someone to block, he's going to struggle. I like Justin Fields. I think he was a really good get. He looks really good. He's starting. His confidence looks great. The receivers are really happy. That's the one thing George Pickens last year was miserable. And this year he seems to be having a lot of fun. That's a good sign for us. We just have to be patient, understand he's still young. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to struggle here and there. But defense keeps him in games, which is awesome. I think the defense kind of had a really bad week last week. But, that goes back to Joe Flacco. The guy does have a Super Bowl ring. So he understands, and he played in the division with the Steelers. So he's very familiar with the Steelers, their defense, their calls, what they're trying to do. So it was coming out a perfect storm for Joe Flacco to look great because he knows. But, he'll go back to being Joe Flacco after that. But he understood, hey, my job is not to lose the game. And that's what he did with the Ravens. Don't lose the game and keep my team in it. And then, I'll make a play here and there. And that's what Justin Fields needs to do. I think he can do it. He really looked really good. I mean, people loaded up the box and he was throwing on first down and hitting people and he loosened them up and then he would loosen them up with his legs. I think getting him on the roll, a little zone read here and there just to keep defense honest and Dallas will struggle. But I agree with Chet. We need to get Najee going. And I think we need to come up, just punch him in the mouth and own the line of scrimmage because Dallas hasn't owned the line of scrimmage all year. So let's go do that and see where it leads us and then go from there.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, everything you said. I'm not sure. I don't know what Arthur Smith. Again, I just it baffles me with the talent that he had in Atlanta and the schemes that he was running and the plays that he was running.
Yep.
And the focal point wasn't like some of his best skill players. And I agree with you, Najee Harris. Like that dude can run downhill all day. He doesn't necessarily have enough power to run over a D lineman, but he's definitely going to run over some of those safeties and some of those cornerbacks.
Yeah. Right through them. Yep.
And I'm just not sure why. Again, maybe it's scheming, like you said. The offense the way that they're using that old school offensive or rushing scheme that Denver Broncos used to use. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Pittsburgh, but I'm frustrated in a way that a fan would be with the way that their offense has been slow to start. They seem like a second half team, whether that's because adjustments they make during halftime, have been hitting, which is good. That's a good sign of good coaching. But yeah, I'm excited to watch that game actually Sunday night, and I think that Pittsburgh definitely pulls it off. I think I got Pitt 24-21 to keep true on the 3 points. They're just going to slow everything down. So I don't think it's advantageous for Pittsburgh to be in a shootout with Dallas. And I don't think Dallas's offense is going to score enough points against that defense to make it matter. So, yeah, that's my pick. What do you got, Jose?
Well, I'm looking at it, and one thing I would say if I was Dallas, this would be my week to go to Ezekiel Elliott and kind of get into a little ground and pound. It's not going to be pretty. Let's go 3 yards, cloud of dust, play action pass. Let Dak use his legs a little on a rollout and go from there. And protect their defense because realistically, when their defense on the field a lot, they just don't perform. Yeah. They're great with the lead. They're great. They only have to play 20 minutes, but once they get into 25, 30, and that's the same with the Steelers. When we so that line of scrimmage and controlling the clock is very important. It's for both these teams. I think like you look at the Steelers, I think they have such great skill players, so underrated up and down the field. I think Freiermuth needs to get his act together because he's too up and down. He's got to be more consistent. If you want to be Heath Miller, man, you got to catch that ball.
Yeah.
But I look at Dallas and they're the same way. They a lot of talent here and there, but their offensive line is kind of suspect. Defensive line, if they're not going to get Justin Fields to the ground, it's going to be a long day for them. So, but I have my Steelers probably 21-17. I think they give up a couple big plays to CeeDee Lamb, but overall they recover and they do enough to win.
Yeah, Dallas goes for it on fourth and short too many times in the red zone. Doesn't kick field goals, and that's how they probably end up losing this game. What do you got, Chet? Who are you picking?
I got. Believe it or not, I have Dallas 28-24, and I love me some George Pickens. I want to see George Pickens kill it, but Dallas is under so much pressure. I see 28-24, super close game, like down to the wire. I see Pittsburgh doing this conservative move, which is why it's 28-24. They kick a field goal where they should go for a touchdown. And I think that's how it ends.
Okay. The opposite way now. Yeah. I don't see Pittsburgh making that mistake on the coaching side. I do have two questions for you, Jose. You said George Pickens, he's still young. He's going to make some mistakes. That dude, along with another tight end, because you mentioned the tight end spot and inconsistency. Pickens and Washington, they both came from Georgia. They both played in front of 100,000 people on many different occasions and many different scenarios. What is it that why isn't Washington, the other tight end, getting more reps? And then two, Pickens is making mistakes, but what is the reason for him making the mistakes? Because maturity-wise, he should be head and shoulders above everybody else because he's been in those types of scenarios before.
And this is where the SEC is. They're gonna the people who love the SEC are gonna hate me. One, the SEC only plays 8 conference games, so they get 4 Cinderellas. You look at Georgia and Alabama; they get 4 Cinderellas every year, and in front of their biggest games, there's always a Cinderella. Somebody where then the clock strikes midnight pretty quick. The other part of it is the SEC has it set up so that your best teams, you don't see Georgia, Alabama every third year. You don't see the really good teams in the SEC against each other because they just don't want that, and so, they do play some primetime games. Yeah, but they're usually on teams that are talent-wise, they're head and shoulders above the majority of teams they're playing. They're better than everybody they're playing. When you get to the NFL, everybody in the NFL is a dog. Everybody in the NFL was either the best player or one of the best players on the team. So George Pickens probably didn't work as hard as Georgia. He wasn't going out there and catching hundreds upon hundreds, after games. And, he wasn't doing all those little things. And he's probably doing it now because I've seen improvement in him. I think Washington, the Steelers, like the Patriots, are looking for their Heath Miller or Gronk. Heath Miller never really got a lot of love, but Heath Miller, if you talk to Terrell Suggs, and he was able to block defensive ends, some of the best in the league by himself. And Gronk was the same way, and that's what the Steelers are looking for. When I watch Washington, he's not that dog where he's like, you know what, I don't need to catch a pass. I'm going to take that defensive end out of the play so my 5 linemen can concentrate on the other guys. And that's where guys like Gronk, Heath Miller, and the great ones, you look at Kelsey, he can do it too. They if they need to stay in and block, they can, but they'll make a play in the passing game. I think that's where Washington kind of struggles, and I don't think that he doesn't have it in it. I can't say that he can't do it. I'm saying that for whatever reason he's not doing it. I think George Pickens last year especially, he didn't have that relationship with Kenny Pickett where he was like, felt comfortable, like he's going to throw me to him. He's going to be like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to give my guy 50-50 and give him a chance. Whereas Justin Fields, I've watched him make some throws where I'm like, "Ooh, that was a tough one." But he said to Pickens, basically, "I think you're better than that guy, so I'm going to throw it to you anyway, and you just make a play." And he has. He's done it. So they've had a really good year. I mean, we lost when scoring 24 points, where last year we couldn't. I can barely remember when we scored 24 points.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Pickens is feeling better and doing better because he believes in his quarterback, and I think he's put in the work. I don't know. Fryermuth is a really good guy, but I think he went to Penn State where he was required to block. You're going to block. You're gonna get some scuffs on your helmet, and so that is where he kind of elevates himself over Washington. So I think that's where when you look at it, but who knows, And I would like to see the Steelers go into 2 tight end sets because then you can put one of them in motion and be a lead block for Najee and let him get downhill. Again, that's me. If I was doing it, that's how I would scheme it. I've coached, I dabbled in coaching a little bit, but I look at the Steelers offense and sometimes I scratch my head, like, what are you doing? But, they get paid a lot more money than me. So I guess, they technically are supposed to be smarter than me.
Technically.
I'll tell you that Pittsburgh offense looks a lot better than the New England Patriots offense. I will tell you that. So,
we did draft some linemen, though. I will say that we drafted a center and some interior.
Are they starting right now?
One of them is, and one is rotating in, so they're getting value out of their picks, which is what I like.
Yep.
That was the Bill Cowher, Bill Belichick mentality. We're going to own the line of scrimmage and go from there.
Yep.
Well, hey, we're sitting on $40 million under the cap, which we could have spent on some freaking offensive line, giant human beings that can stand in front of the quarterback and stop people from hitting them. But it does us no good to save that money and then everyone hate the product that we're seeing. And we've talked about that before, but I did want to talk about something else. And Wally's not here to defend himself, but we had a conversation a couple weeks ago about in football, there's business decisions and there's football decisions. And, sometimes from a fan base, sometimes we don't differentiate the two. We want to see always football decisions. We want to see the decision that's being made improve the product on the field. This conversation and comment stemmed from a conversation where I said, before final cuts were made for our team, we cut Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, we cut him, and that made us spend $8 million to pay him his salary for the year. And we cut him when we didn't need to. And then 2 weeks later, a week after cuts are made, or a week before final cuts were made, Kansas City picks him up because he's cut and he hits waivers and they pick him up, which is a solid for them because it's a guy that used to play with Patrick Mahomes, knows the offense, seamlessly transition into that. And my argument was they should have held on to him until that fact became reality, where the commodity that they have, they can now give it to somebody who has value in it and then receive value back for that commodity. And again, come full circle, right? Let's say we talked about making a business decision and a football decision. The business decision was that we were going to pay the guy. The football decision was that we like him, and you could maybe interchange both of these, but we like the guy. He's a solid dude. We're going to cut him before training camp is over so that he has a chance to get on another team and get right with them. Meanwhile, we're still paying him his full salary for that year. But my argument was that we should have kept him, held on to him, tell him not even to show up. Don't show up to practice. You want to come in and do some rehab, get in the PT office and have them work on your ailments, then go ahead and do that. But don't even come in. We're shopping you, or we don't have value for it. We're going to find somebody that does have value. That is the business decision that I feel like should have been made. And again, now we fast forward to even 4 weeks into the season, Kansas City, he's on their roster. It's decimated. I think we'll see him get more reps as we move on. But again, we could have, I feel like we could have capitalized and gotten some value out of it, whether it's a conditional pick, some sort of compensation. And oh, by the way, we're not spending $8 million on a guy to play against us on another team. And I just so to come full circle with the conversation, this was a business decision and a football decision. So now that we see what's happened with injuries, with the decimation of Kansas City's wide receiver core in general, how do you view basically that backstory, and where does your opinion stand on cutting a guy, paying him to play? Because you have a very good example of it on your roster as well. And Russell Wilson, a team is paying him upwards near $40 million to play for you. So where do you stand on that dynamic where you hold on to somebody, and whether they're disgruntled or not, wait till you can capitalize on their value, and then flip the switch on that.
Um, well, I look at what Denver did, and that was just desperation to get rid of a toxic person out of the locker room. Because that, to me, you're paying for that. If you're paying that much money to get rid of Russell Wilson, that just tells me you were toxic in that locker room. Juju Smith-Schuster was always liked in Pittsburgh. I always thought he was a good teammate. I thought that, his skills have diminished a little, but I think that this is where you take a guy and you start transitioning him and say, hey, we need you to teach these young guys. And they could have held on to him a little longer, taught the young guys, get them in a rhythm, show them how to be professionals, and said, hey, look, we're going to shop you. Where do you want to go? I think it's one of those things where they could have talked about it. Now, I don't know what the thought of the GM is. They may have said to him, hey, he might have said, hey, I need to go now, so that I don't, because there may not be injuries or whatever early in the season. But everybody knows there's always injuries early in the season, so.
Yeah.
But I think you have a valid point. You hold on to him at least through the preseason. Let him show the guys, hey, even if you don't play him, just say, hey, listen, I just need you to come out here and practice, run routes with the guys. Just show these guys the young guys, how to be professional. And that was one of the things I always loved about the Steelers and the way the Patriots were. The older guys always taught the younger guys how to be, and it's a lost art in every level of sports. And everybody's about me. And I think, when you show some loyalty to a guy, say, hey, we're going to pay you to be here. Yeah, you might not get your catches, but we're definitely going to put you on the market and see if we get you in a good spot. And he ended up in a great spot. He went back to Kansas City. He already knows the offense. He already knows the people. He already knows the quarterback. And so it's beneficial to him. It worked out for him, but it didn't work out for the Patriots. I think there's something to be said about leadership, that you kind of got to pay for that. You can't just say, hey, well, yeah, he's old, he doesn't run as fast, but he's that voice in the locker room when these young guys, are whining, complaining, whatever, and I go back, like I said, with Steelers linebackers, you went from Greg Lloyd, who taught Joey Porter who taught James Harrison. Everything was
Harrison.
And it all went one right after the other, and we still going down the line, and we a linebacker goes away, you got another one. But it's because they're taught by the guy ahead of them, and the Steelers don't get rid of guys for that. And that's one thing I loved about Bill Belichick. He let guys hang around an extra year to so they can learn, and then say, okay, now I'm going to ship you off somewhere better, but you got to teach the guy behind you. And they did. I mean, they had so many great players there. It's crazy. But I think you're right. You should have held on to Juju till the start of the season. Hey, let's see if any injuries come. I mean, he's getting $8 million. What's he going to complain about? You're going to, even if you don't play, you're going to get $8 million. You're getting paid one way or the other. So the reality is there's less wear and tear on your body. Now it just, what if nothing came up and then he has to sign with Jacksonville or that hot mess in New York with the Giants? Then it would have been different. He'd been singing a different tune. Like, damn, man, I should have stayed with the Patriots, took that $8 million and just been a quasi coach. But, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. You remember the conversation that we had with Wally, right, Chet? What are your thoughts on the whole
Well, I
dynamic.
mean, like after hearing Jose, here's the thing. Juju Smith-Schuster, right? Wasn't good enough to be on our roster, apparently, according to the coaches.
Yep.
It's a 53-man roster. So 53 men is all you get. And they thought he wasn't good enough to be on our roster. So they made what you call, Nate, a football decision, right? And they said, we got better guys here. We got Pop Douglas, we got Jalen Pope, we got, KJ Osborne, we got the other second, third round, I think, fourth round wide receiver, and they're going with that. So my thought is, I think Juju's washed up. I do. But I would have loved to have him, to your point, Jose, hang out and teach Jalen Polk or some other young guy the way. Because right now, I'm not sure who the lead receiver from a leadership standpoint is on the Patriots. You can make an argument for Kendrick Bourne, but he's been injured the whole time. So yeah, I still struggle with the Juju Smith-Schuster thing. I don't mind cutting him if his attitude was bad or if he just wasn't in it. Fair enough. Otherwise, though, would love to have him on there. I just don't know, but I don't know who would cut to keep him. Is my point.
Well, yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. I just know when we look at that small sample size, as far as Juju Smith-Schuster and the receiving core, and then we also look at the other side of the ball, the defensive side. Matthew Judon was traded before we had a chance. And again, maybe he made the decision he didn't want to be there. But those are two individuals that are veterans that can be coaches on the field for you. I also look at it again. We're saving there's $40 million unspent on our roster. And I would rather spend it on a Matthew Judon to keep him happy and have him be a coach, a pseudo coach on the field, and a veteran leadership representative in the locker room and on and off the field with a young team like that, as opposed to what did we get? A fourth round pick for Judon, a third round pick, and then again we're paying
Third round.
Juju Smith. Yeah, we're paying Juju Smith's salary. Like, come on. Like,
I know.
and then again, from a perspective of a paying season ticket holder, the product that you see on the field looks like they could benefit from some veteran savvy, some veteran leadership to guide the younger players in the right direction. Not only that, but on the defensive side, he was arguably our best defensive asset that we had, other than Gonzalez and maybe Peppers, the safety. But you take somebody off of that team, of course, like, man, the defense is the best side of the ball, and we're still struggling on defense, and we could really use a guy like Judon.
Yeah, we could.
I don't know. Again, the business decision versus a football decision. I just like, we as fans spend that money and give us a product on the field. I'd rather be upset that we didn't do well and we're spending all the money that we can, because that would at least show me that we're trying. They're trying financially. They're trying to put something on the field, But now it just looks like, why are you trying to save money? Because your ticket price didn't go down.
No,
between last year and this year, so
they did not go down. They did not go down.
So yeah, it just
right now
doesn't make any sense, and it's kind of frustrating with the product that's on the field. So
yeah, it's very frustrating. The product's on the field.
Yeah, I understand you Patriots fans. That's it's hard for you guys because you guys were spoiled for so long, and Steelers fans same way. We're spoiled, and that's why I get frustrated with Tomlin. It's like you have a Hall of Fame quarterback for the majority of your coaching career, and you can only squeeze one Super Bowl out of it. I don't get it. But I sit down and I look and I say, I think with the Patriots, it's just really they need those veterans in there to teach those young guys the right way. Because now these guys are out there and they're looking like, well, I'm 22, you're 23, you're 22. where's the 35-year-old guy? Where's
Yep.
the 30-year-old guy? You need that guy. You do. You need that anchor to. Yeah, he might not be as good as he was, but what he lacks in physical value, he makes up for in mental value and mentorship and everything. I don't think Juju would have been upset being a fourth or fifth receiver if he felt like, hey, I have input in this wide receiver room where I can tell these guys and I can work with these guys, because then it allows him to transition to something else. I look at it and I say, oof, both of those guys you mentioned, Nate, were tough losses, because they were guys that the young guys could look at and go, hey, how do I do this? And they would have been like, yeah, you got to, hey, this is what you're looking at. If you stay here, you'll be in position. And, they don't have that. And it's tough, So I can understand the frustration, like you said, and that 40 million sitting there. And oh, by the way, you're paying the guy to go play somewhere else against you, where
Yeah.
he's got a great chance of getting another ring. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. It's tough.
I will equate it to when we gave up the running back to you guys when we cut him. I can't remember his name now. Got it. He was
LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount.
I'm thinking, man, LeGarrette Blount was great.
Yeah, and it was crazy because like the Steelers just cut him. Like, yeah, and he goes to the Patriots, and now he's just crushing it. And it's like, so you just gave him away for nothing. And that's why, and that's basically your equivalent with Juju. You gave him away for nothing. You paid him to go away, and now he's going to punish you.
He had some legal issues, right? Is that why they cut him?
I don't think he's that good. He's not
that.
Well,
no, Juju's not that good. But I'm just saying, like, he's over there in that other locker room with those young guys in Kansas City, helping them mature, while your guys are sitting there going, "Well, we got nobody."
Yeah. You know what I mean? And again, we made a business decision to say that he was $8 million a year good.
Yeah.
So, like, in a business world, let's at least honor that contract, and we're gonna pay him his money. But I ain't paying him to play against me or to go to another team. Like, that just, again, it doesn't make much business sense. And you can't think, it's not even a good football decision to do that, right? It's a really bad business decision to do that. And again, I understand from Denver's perspective and ours, if you feel like they need to get out of the locker room, but I just
it's basically establishing a culture. It's a coach trying to establish a new culture. You want to be here or you don't, and I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah, so do I. But again, when we go back to the 40 million, we had the 40 million sitting there in April, to use. It wasn't like we were the Dallas Cowboys and we just finished 2 max contracts. And last week we got $20 million in cap space because of the way that we structured the extensions with the current contract. So
genius.
Yes, we can't save that. We can't do anything with that money now. It doesn't help us. So I don't even know why Jerry decided to let me restructure it so I saved 20 million. What the hell does that do you now? You can't do anything with it now. Good for you. Good business decision. You saved yourself 20 million.
Jerry's a showman, so he's gonna do things that aesthetically please the Cowboys fans, but he knows that Jerry doesn't. Jerry is, he wants to be the face of the Cowboys. So anything he can do that draws him into the limelight, he's going to do that, and that's why they are where they are.
Yeah, it's just that if you easily split that in half and say, I think their offense and their defense could use a guy that gets paid $10 million. Both of them could use that asset, and you could have done the same thing all the way back in April with the same structure of the contract, all that stuff. You might have even saved more money, because at the time the quarterback market was a little bit less than it is right now, and Dak might have taken a few bones less, but it still would have been at the time a max contract. So, I just we'll probably revisit this, football decision and business decision all season, because
we'll see how the results go. Right?
There's going to be a lot of things that come up, but I did want to revisit week 4, and if you guys had something that you noticed about another team, another player that you were impressed with.
Oh yeah.
Also, mine was. So hold on, let me look at my notes. Sorry, mine was just basically that the Pats looked really bad. we had three turnovers. We had three turnovers, an interception return for a touchdown, and two lost fumbles. And going back to what you said, Jose, earlier about us playing good, disciplined football. Where we're not making turnovers, we're not making stupid penalties. And mistake-free football. That's going back to our roots. That's what we used to do. I'm not really sure why we're getting away from that. I felt like in the Bill Belichick era, like if an offensive lineman for whatever reason had a mental mistake, or a defensive lineman, anybody on the team, mental mistake, they were pulled, man. That didn't mean they weren't getting back into the game, but uh, in some, in some ways I agree with it. In some ways that I don't. Like a running back, for instance, if he's our starting running back, the guy fumbles the ball, give him the ball the next possession. Like, let's not let him dwell on that. You know, guys are trying to, full grown men that outweigh them by 100 pounds are trying to rip the ball out of his arms. So, like, it's going to happen. Fumbles are going to happen. You don't want it to. If they're carrying it like a loaf of bread, like most quarterbacks do, then that's different. But if a guy just gets a good lick on him and the ball comes loose, like give him another opportunity. And I feel like we've gotten away from our run game because that's happened in the past couple of weeks where we've had turnovers, early fumbles by the running back, and they don't go back to him. He's a workhorse. He's all we got because you saved $40 million on the cap space and you didn't go get somebody else. So damn, like let's ride with it, man. Let's ride with it. This isn't Broncos country, but let's ride with it. Uh, so yeah, if you guys want to, another thing that dawned on me was again, Andy Dalton had a pretty good game with Carolina again for the second straight week. They lost to Cincinnati, but I don't know if Bryce Young is done there or not. I hope that he's not. I'd like to see him. I'd definitely like to see him uh, do well there or somewhere else, and I think he'll get another shot in another organization. But uh, not to move on to another topic because I want to get you guys' week four uh, takeaways. But I think that Las Vegas should be considering asking Carolina about the availability of Bryce Young and getting rid of.
Oh,
They already want to get rid of Devontae Adams. Maybe that's a third team that's involved, where whoever the third team is gets Devontae Adams. And Bryce Young goes from Carolina to Las Vegas, and then Carolina gets the picks. I don't know how that works, but I feel like that's commodity for commodity again. The Raiders need a quarterback desperately. I shouldn't say desperately, but I think Bryce Young probably needs a new start somewhere else. But before we move on to that, I'll get y'all's takeaways from
Jose, what you got?
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah.
Well, I would say my takeaway from this past week was if the Ravens if Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson can run the ball and play offense the way they did against the Bills, oh boy, they would be right there on par with my Super Bowl favorites. I think that running game travels and Derrick Henry travels and Kansas City would be in trouble because now you control the clock. Patrick Mahomes is on the sideline and your defense gets worn out. And oh my God, look out because then the Ravens defense is coming. So that was my takeaway. I thought the domination of the Bills was just so impressive.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's my takeaway from that week. And I like Nate Sting with but I would be really funny if you watch Devontae Adams go to the Panthers and they trade him for Bryce Young. That would be funny.
That'd be fantastic.
I'd be like, be careful what you wish for.
Right. But in my mind, I'm thinking the biggest takeaway for me was DeAndre Swift. He was the joke of the NFL for the Bears for the whole week, and then came back and whooped ass.
Yeah.
And I love when I see that. I do because I coach football, right? My son plays
Yeah.
football. I love it. You get a bad week. Fair enough. It's a bad week. He came back. That dude whooped some serious ass. And so that's my takeaway from week 4.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I had forgotten about that, but yeah, he was
Remember the
definitely
week
impressive.
before he got
Yeah,
some handoff and he thought to pass it. He's got killed for like a 15-yard loss or something. And like a lot of people would just like lay down and die after that. And he came back like a monster last week.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good take. I like that.
Another takeaway for me was again Jaden Daniels and the dang
Yeah.
Washington Commanders, man. Like Jaden Daniels is on a record-setting pace for a rookie quarterback, and we we talked about after week 1. I threw out some predictions, and one of my predictions was that he has a Robert Griffin III type rookie season, and he ends up with Rookie of the Year. Now I hope it pans out on the tail end as a prolonged career and not shortened by injuries, but I also, in that same prediction, said that he needs to stop running the ball because I think in week 1 he had 16 carries, which was if you went down the line, of best rushing or running quarterbacks in the history of the league, Michael Vick was one of them. Steve Young was another. I think Randall Cunningham was another. All three of them had one thing in common with Jaden, one thing not in common with Jaden Daniels. They never ran the ball 16 times in a game. And they had pretty prolonged careers. So I thought, man, Jaden Daniels, and I'd actually like to talk about this before we move on, because we had a conversation last week, Chet, about talking about the 3 teams that drafted quarterbacks 1 through 3. First being Caleb Williams, second being Jaden Daniels, and then third being Drake May. And the comparison of the situations that they're all in. And the one thing that's different in those situations, other than talent surrounding them, if we just look at his coaching standpoint, Jaden Daniels has the most experienced offensive coordinator and also someone that's dealt with another quarterback that's very similar in the way that they're good in off scripted plays. When the protection breaks down, they can get outside the pocket, scramble, make things happen, either with their legs or again moving the outside the pocket and then getting into a good throwing platform and executing a good throw. I think that that's head and shoulders the reason why Jaden Daniels is being so successful, and the others are struggling to catch up to him. And again, he's doing it at a record pace. That doesn't mean that Drake May still hasn't had a chance to prove himself, but Caleb Williams has all the arrows are trending up. Like his QBR has gone up every week. His passing percentage, completion percentage has gone up every week. So he's doing the right things. But when we look at those situations, we had a kind of an argument about what was better, coaching or talent. And I think I surmised it by saying it's really a coach figuring out how to use the talent and then communicating effectively in order to teach them how to use their talents effectively within the schematics of the offense is basically what I surmised it as. And I think we all agreed that coaching doesn't trump talent. Coaching needs talent in order to succeed. So when you look at those 3 different scenarios, did you what was your comment on that, Chet, when we talked about it?
Well, back then, I'm not sure. Now,
Yeah, give us your take now. Looking at it.
so I think I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but I think I said I wish we had Jaden Daniels over Drake
We
May.
all 3 of us wanted Jaden Daniels, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
On the Patriots.
So I think I said that. I think I said that, but I think my idea was I thought Bill Belichick would still be here, right? Possibly at that time. And so I think my thought was if we have to have Drake May, I would rather have Bill Belichick be the coach to develop him. and maybe that was my error because Belichick might be done, just too tired to develop a quarterback. So I think, I think talent. I said Jaden Daniels, even though Drake May is no slouch. Like that's the thing I'm worried about. People thinking is like he's just got nothing to offer. He is no slouch. But when it comes to coaching versus talent, I would love to have Josh McDaniels back right now. I would love that.
Of
For
course,
Drake
yeah,
May. Yeah.
we'd love that. But yeah, of those three different dynamics, I guess, Jose, which one does anything else besides what I stated stick out to you as far as potentially a reason for success?
I think unfortunately for Drake May, he that transition he's coming into is tough. I agree with Chet that it would have been nice for Belichick to be around one more year
Yep.
and kind of, steady the ship for him and then transition. But I think Jalen Daniels fell into a really good situation. Because if you go back and you look at the Redskins the last couple years, they were very competitive on the field. It was just some bad quarterback play that cost them games. So now you have a guy who's not turning the ball over, making dumb mistakes, and now they're seeing the success. So, but he has a solid line. They play solid defense. They do run the ball well. Overall, the Redskins are a very fundamentally sound team, and they know what they are and they know what they're doing. The quarterback before Daniels had, like you said, Chet, he had the same skill set, but I don't think he had the same mind. I think Daniel's mind is a little faster, a little more forward than his. But that's why Daniels fell into a good system because they already had everything set for him. He walks in, we've got a good team together. We've got skill players, we've got running game, we've got a good defense. We just need a guy that can pull the trigger, guy that can walk to the line of scrimmage and go, oh, they're playing this defense. This is what I need to do. And I can make plays, if I have to. Because if you watch the Redskins last year and the Commanders last year and the year before, their guy playing quarterback for him, same skill set. He could scramble it. He would just every once in a while make that bonehead play that cost him games, and that's not what's happening this year. So now they're having the success, and I'm with you, Chet. I really believe Belichick should have came back this year. Not Drake May, kind of because in the same token, Nate, when you were talking about when Belichick was there, they benched guys. Well, when the Cowboys were winning Super Bowls, Jimmy Johnson was benching guys.
He was
like, I remember when he cut the running back because he fumbled against the Dolphins 3 times. And everybody's like, well, why'd you cut him? He was a real good guy. He's like, he fumbled 3 times. Well, it was a meaningless game. Not to me. Every game means something to me. And that accountability, when everybody in the locker room, like, wait a minute, they cut him? And he was playing regularly. Oh my God, So everybody knew their job. No one was safe. And that's with Belichick. No one knew they were safe. So it's like, okay, I can't do these dumb things because, I've got accountability. Is the accountability there now? And as a Steeler fan, that's where I get frustrated because sometimes there's accountability, but there's a lot of times our guys do some dumb things. Belichick is not. But Tomlin is sitting there going, well, it is what it is. He's got his Tomlinisms. And you're like, dude, just cut somebody, bench somebody, do something to hold someone accountable so you show that you're still in charge and they're not going to do some things.
I love that. What you're saying, because it's exactly true. Like Belichick would cut anybody. Like, remember Jonah Gray?
Yeah, I do.
This fucking
Scored
guy
5 touchdowns. Scored 5 touchdowns in one game, and he's on the practice squad.
Fuck this guy. Like, that was a good moment for the Patriots. Like, it doesn't matter. You perform well, but if you don't stick to the script, and there's a reason it matters. You have to be part of a team. You cannot be individual in the NFL, which is why they're saying right now for the Patriots, I'm not sure if you heard, but they're saying there's like mutiny in the locker room right now because people are being selfish and they're trying to like make their big splash play or whatever. And Gerard Mayo was like, I hadn't heard that, but I guess you guys heard it. We'll see what happens, something like that. But like, you've got to be part of a team in this younger generation. And I know I'm saying get off my lawn. I get it. But like this younger generation, it's so individual because they are taught it's all for you or nothing. This is what they're taught. And so I'm like, man, if you work as a team, the amazing things that can happen, you'll get that. Hey, Nate, tell your dog, show it up. What's your dog's name?
It's Mimu. I'm gonna go.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm with you on that, Chet. I think when you sit down and you look, the really good coaches always held people accountable. They always were
Yes.
like,
And
that's
they get
not
a
acceptable.
team mentality.
You know,
If you want to be individual, dude, you're making millions of dollars right now. How about you be an individual after you retire?
yeah, well, you sit down and you look at like, you watched it, over the years, and especially now with the NIL, these college players are like, well, it's about me.
Yeah.
There's no loyalty. It's all about, oh, I need to get my money. And my brand and my, putting my brand and my image, is more important than the team. And it's such an unfortunate thing because they don't understand that your brand will grow and your brand will flourish when you're winning.
If you win,
if
you win, right? And that's the thing.
And that's the crazy thing. You'll make your money if you're winning. You
win. So like everyone that's trying to make all their money up front, like I get that. Like I totally get it. Capitalist. Yeah. I'm a capitalist to the bone. Like I understand the system. I understand it. But being a capitalist to the bone, look who's out there right now still making money. Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
The McCourty twins. Right? They're still making money because they won Super Bowls. They worked their balls off for that. Jason McCourty saved our ass in Super Bowl, whatever it was against the Rams, the last one we won.
Yeah.
He saved our asses that day. And now he's on Good Morning Football or wherever he's at now. Like, that's what you have to think about. But like, not every player gets that. And so they get like, I need my money now. Like all their agents are telling them, make your money now, man.
Well, that's because the agent wants that money. Well, the funny, me and Nate had this discussion when I was up there, and I said, remember, Nate, I told you, I said, I don't understand why young quarterbacks don't use the Tom Brady method. He played 20 years. He was never the top paid quarterback, but he's got 7 rings. So now he's sitting in a booth making boatloads of cash. He's on every commercial.
So much money.
He made so much money in commercials and everything. I mean, I'm like, let's see, take less money, keep a great offensive line, win Super Bowls, and I become a god, or get all my money up front, don't win anything, or win one Super Bowl like Aaron Rodgers, and
in Jets.
Yeah, hang around like Brett. Think about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, both go to the Jets, and this is like their swan song. It's like, isn't it sad? It's like Green Bay just dumps their old guys over there or something. But I think myself, Tom Brady was a genius, and why a young guy is not following that model as a quarterback, I don't get it.
Because they have bad coaching. Because I get the young guy making a bad choice. We all were young and we thought we could do it on our own and it's fine. But like they have bad people in front of them. If you're a young quarterback now, you should get Tom Brady's book. You should read that shit. You should eat that recipe and you should go for it. Like, why would you not? Unless you're not willing to do what it takes.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because if you think about the guys they consider some of the greatest quarterbacks, Terry Bradshaw wasn't the highest paid quarterback. Joe Montana wasn't the highest paid quarterback. In those eras, Troy Aikman was not the highest paid quarterback in his era.
Yeah.
But they all have multiple Super Bowl rings and are iconic. And then and Brady looked at them and go, "Oh, well, I'm going to follow their model."
Exactly.
So why they blazed the trail, and Tom perfected it. Like Tom took what they did and perfected it, and it's like, why are you not following this guy?
I agree.
It's like he was never the top. He's like, I don't want to be the top paid quarterback, but the money you save on me, you better put in that line. You better put in that defense.
Exactly, because that helps you win. That's how it works. These fucking idiots. Also, Jose.
Yeah, Tom Brady was. Sorry, go ahead, Chet.
No, I'm just thinking Jose and I, we had to do a little licensing deal called, here's my thought, Civil War or not. And then we make everyone look at us talk and be like, oh, those are reasonable people.
Yeah.
Those are reasonable people. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's one of those crazy things. You would think that every minority hates every white guy, but there's so many of us that are friends and hang out and do. You see it every day. People just laughing and giggling, and you're like, you listen to the media, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. But we'll go back to these quarterback thing, and then I just don't understand the great ones that are on TV announcing, making commercials to
All
this
night long.
day
Yep.
because they have 4 Super Bowl rings or more, like Tom Brady, and they were never the highest paid. So why would you want to be the highest paid? That doesn't make any sense to me.
There's something to be said about a lot of people say that the more intelligent you are, the more willing you are to delay gratification.
Yeah, that's well said, Chip. That's one of those. Again, I look at the situation where, and I've said it before because I don't come from money. Like if I had $1 million in the bank, like I wouldn't need to have like 5 or 6 million. If I can make that over the course of time, then yes. But like I'd be satisfied with $1 million. So when we talk about salaries, like you know, and I've talked to both of you about this same topic of conversation. Wide receivers that leave New England because they can get more money somewhere else when who do you want to throw the ball to as a skill player if you're a wide receiver? Who do you want to depend on throwing you the ball? You want to depend on a guy like Tom Brady, or do you want to take a couple $1 million more a year and go catch it from the last guy that Cleveland drafted in the draft? Like
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real thing. So, and purely the economics, when you look at it, again, they make a certain amount of money that I can't really fathom. So it's hard for me to say, oh, you're only going to pay me 10 million when this guy over here will pay me, 15 million, which is a 33% increase. But at the same time, I don't differentiate the two. So I always thought Tom Brady was more along the lines of, I'm the top paid uh, person on this team. That's the only economics that I care about. But I'd rather my salary be, you know, one. We'll break it down into like on the offensive side, 11% of the overall salary. I know the other 89% needs to go to offense and defense, but in small terms like that, the economics of it, however that played out in his head, I always thought he was smarter than that. And it was, if I'm the highest paid player on my team and we're winning Super Bowls and we're competitive, then I'm happy with that. I don't need to compete with every other quarterback that's out there because my legacy, when I'm said and done, he had the confidence to essentially say early on, when I'm done, my legacy will talk for itself, and it probably comes from his days back at Michigan when every week he was competing for the starting job, and he always had that mentality like I'm not the best. At some point, I'm not going to be the best quarterback for this team, but I'm going to prepare and I'm going to be ready every week, in and out. I'm going to know what's going on. I'm going to be able to go out there and outperform the guy who thinks he can come in and outperform me. And he always had that mentality for some reason. I'm not really sure.
So my
But
question to
purely
both of
the
you guys, to both of you guys as Patriots fans, did it endear you more that he took less? Or were you guys like, oh, well, that's a dumb move?
No, absolutely. I was like,
Totally endearing.
it endeared me. Yeah, it made him more iconic in my eyes for somebody that can go out there or is deserving of all the people. And I always used to look at salaries too. Like, you'd see I think his highest at any point was top 10, but he would always hover around that same top 10. And ideally, the guys that were above him were just guys that were supposed to be the next him or the next Super Bowl winning quarterback, not someone that had already proven it. And I just thought it was great. it did make him more of an iconic figure in the fact that he would always take less. He would always restructure his deal so that we had more money financially to start the season. And again, smart economics and smart business about it, right? He would restructure at the beginning of the season so they had the money to spend on that season, not restructure at the end and then, oh, look, there's only 3 weeks left in the season, but we saved $20 million because we restructured this contract. Oh, gosh.
It's not my money. It's not my money. So I'm thinking like the guy's willing to take less to make us win so I can sit in my living room and watch and have a good time and yell and scream and fist pump and do fucking airplane rides with the kids. I love that shit.
Yeah, we need more of that, man. We need more of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's what baffled me with Dak in Dallas. I just thought to Dak, if you come on TV and say, hey, look, I don't want to be the highest paid guy, but I want to have a great team around me. So if I take less, I expect that money to be parceled out to all the supporting cast. And then Tom would say, he would hint at that. He wouldn't come out directly and say it, but he would say things like, I'm glad they re-signed this lineman or that lineman, or I'm glad that we spent the money on this guy or that guy, and it's why Vince Wilfork and Richard Seymour and Mike Rabel and all those guys were hung around longer because he was willing to give them some money. So I thought that was genius on his part. To this day, and I don't understand why guys don't do that at every sport,
No, I agree. Yeah, but I don't understand it either. And again, and I know there's some CBA that's probably preventing this, but like a good example is Shohei Ohtani. Like that dude's contract, 700 million over like 15 years. Like, of course, the number looks astronomical, but why are not more players doing that? And two, because it's so beneficial to the club that's signing him to that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know the stipulations on that. If you do it over that amount of time, does the club need to have that $700 million in escrow? Do you have to have that capital,
Yeah.
that liquidity already in escrow so that it is essentially guaranteed? But yeah, I don't know why more players don't do that because the economics of it.
It's funny because Magic is part of that Dodgers group. Magic did a $25 million contract for 20 years or something like that with the Lakers. The Lakers are still paying that guy,
Yeah.
but he took $1 million a year. But he's like, I'll take $1 million a year for 25 years. So he's still getting paid from the Lakers. And then he turned all that in. But that allowed them to get all those supporting cast that, 9 NBA finals, 5, NBA championships and all the accolades down the road. And it's like genius move. Just and it's like there's guys out there who set the model, but I don't understand why it's not being repeated. There's this thing with being the highest paid. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, it seems like a theme, and like you said, I don't get it either. Like, and I think again, Patrick Mahomes did the Tom Brady thing this year. He restructured his contract to get more money, and I think that model will continue to do it. I don't know how many other players will be willing to do that, like a Dak Prescott or like I don't know even know who the five did Jared Allen.
Jared Allen's one of the top guys. Yeah, he's
Josh
one of the
Allen.
top guys.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
signed.
Josh
So
Allen is, and that's one of those things where I look at Lamar Jackson is like, he got paid really well, but I thought, how much money can you really spend? And
yeah,
Baltimore loves Lamar Jackson. So, if he takes a little less and says, hey, sign these great players so we can beat the Chiefs, the Baltimore fans are going to lose, he's going to make so much money off the field that he would make up for what he didn't get on the field,
yeah,
and so these are the things that I look at and I sit down and I say, but here I don't have nowhere near the money they have, so it's like, well, I you got to get it when you can, but hopefully these kids getting paid in college having that money set aside, they can look at it in a better light and say, hey, maybe I can, since I already have this money, I can now take a little less so I can be put on a better team.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I guess I don't know. Maybe it comes from once you have success. A lot of the some of the players that have been paid the max amount haven't had the success. We're still projecting them to have the success, and they're being projected to to do better than they have been. Even though they're having good numbers, the results aren't turning into a Super Bowl win or an MVP season or whatever it is. So I think we have in this structure we have a habit of paying them before they've reached the pinnacle of their accolades, which
Yeah.
would be a Super Bowl win. And if you do that, again, I think maybe there's a different level of appreciation because
Yeah.
even in the Super Bowl, I mean, there was only one year we ended up losing the Super Bowl where Tom Brady threw for 500 yards, most yards in a Super Bowl. We didn't punt the ball, and we still lost. Like, was that because somebody was paid too much and on the offensive side and we could have used some defensive players? Or was it because we just didn't play somebody on defense that we should have played that might have not allowed so many yards passing because he was a DB and there was anyway. I'm going off on a tangent
Yeah.
here, but
Hey,
that's
but it's a logical, thing to think that way. And you sit down and when you look at, I mean, and when you look at like even when Tom Brady went to Tampa, that defense they got Ndamukong Suh. They went and got Akeem Talib.
yeah,
They got these key pieces on defense so that he didn't have to carry the team. Now he could if he needed to throw the ball a lot, but he didn't have to. And when they won that Super Bowl, that defense beat the hell out of Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
yeah,
Patrick Mahomes was probably still had like nightmares for weeks after that.
I'm
Thinking about
sure.
Sue and them guys. And it's like and Tom was he was smart about it. Yeah, he got paid, and he's like, but they went all in. They're like, we're spending every dime we got. We're all in. They put all their chips, and it paid off for them. And so for me, and it didn't hurt Tampa because they were like, Tom, we're going to pay you all this year. So there's nothing else after this, which was
Yeah,
smart, because hey, I'm spending my money now, and I got the Super Bowl that I wanted. I got the success that I wanted. I sold so many Tom Brady jerseys and Sue jerseys, and Levante David, got re-signed, and he's still playing for the Bucks, playing great. So
yeah,
that's why I
yeah,
look at Josh Allen. That poor guy has to be the running game and the quarterback. But if he takes less money and tells Buffalo, hey, we need to get me some help. I need some running. I need a running game. I need some really good defenders. We need to put a really good defense out there so I can get the ball in my hands and we can control the clock. Josh Allen's a great talent. I think he's great for Buffalo. He plays great in that weather. He's good for the city. But I think that too much is on him. And they got rid of Stephon Diggs. Like, really, you're going to get rid of my best receiver? You know, and it shows. I mean, you watched that Ravens game the other day, last week. Buffalo's offense looked inept. It was Josh Allen, and that was it. And it's not
yeah,
fair to that guy because some of his best years are getting wasted. So
yeah. I mean, also that defense in
yeah,
Baltimore is pretty
yeah,
stellar in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
you know, they would have shut down that offense. Maybe the offense gets another touchdown or two,
yeah.
but
But if you
that
can
defense,
run the football, why is Derrick Henry in Baltimore not in Buffalo? Because
yeah,
Derrick Henry in Buffalo in the winter in October in November December where the weather's bad, that was built for Derrick
perfect.
Henry.
Yeah, that's a perfect
He's
scenario.
that guy.
Perfect recipe.
And you allowed the Ravens to get him instead of you. And I just feel like that was the smart move. And unfortunately, Josh Allen's. Hey, can you even name the running back in Buffalo? I can't.
Yeah, that's Cook, Jared Cook, Dalvin
Okay,
Cook's brother, younger
yeah.
brother.
So I'm just not buying it. I don't. I feel like you get in and you get that ground and pound going, and you allow Josh Allen to say, "Hey, it's 3rd and 1. We're not quarterback sneaking anymore. We're just going to give it to Derrick Henry because he's
Yeah,
going to get us 1 yard." and that
Yeah.
saves wear and tear on Josh Allen and all our stuff. And again, but that goes back to, hey, maybe take a little less money, but you need to put it. We need some better defense. We need that pass rusher because we need bookends that can get after Mahomes. Because if we don't have him, he's going to cook us. And Lamar Jackson cooked him because they couldn't contain him. They couldn't set an edge. And
Yeah, the economics have got to change or shift slightly. Like again, you pay them, and then there's got to be some sort of restructure almost yearly, so that there's an adjustment that can be made on offense or defense that needs to be made, bringing in a new person. I did want to revisit one other week one prediction that I had and get both of y'all's opinions. I did say that Sam Darnold will have a Pro Bowl year. The Minnesota Vikings will make the playoffs, and he'll end up getting a contract that pays somewhere between 30 and 40 million from somebody. I threw out some feelers as far as the Seahawks and the Steelers, as far as teams that could potentially be interested, but that all depends on how the rest of the season goes for those two teams. But I mean, it looks pretty good right now, and I also, to pivot as well, have them as winning this week and being one of only two remaining undefeated teams, which the other is Kansas City. So kind of a combination.
Jose,
yeah,
you gotta love Nate, the host of the show, right? You gotta love him for going back on one of his predictions that turns out right.
Hey, I will say this: that was really good insight for him. But I think most of the NFL like Sam Darnold coming out of college. I think most of the NFL
number one pick, right?
Yeah, most of the people thought he has all the skills, the mind, but unfortunately, he went to the Jets. I mean, that's just unfortunately when you go to the Jets, it's a career killer. But he got with a good coach, a brilliant mind, and he's got a great defense. And if Sam Darnold was smart, like we were just talking, he's going to say, "Hey, Minnesota, I want to stay here.
Yeah,
give me something comfortable. I don't need to be in the top 10."
Right. So what do they do with McCarthy at that point?
Yeah. Just, hey, pay me a good salary. I want to stay here. Let me stay here, and let's grow this. And so if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm like, look, I'm buying a house here. I'm not leaving unless you kick me out.
Yeah,
I'll take less. And
let's say the season. But Nate, to your point, I'm just giving you shit. Like, good call.
Hey, it's a stab in the dark, but
at least I'll call it. Didn't break his arm.
I'll call it when you guys call it too. I mean, I think you guys might have agreed. I think you disagreed with me on this one, the Sam Darnold one. But if you guys agree with me, I'll give you your props too, or you have your own predictions. That's also why I go back and review the tape, find the predictions. I don't know if you saw the little clip that I posted where Wally said something about, we should go back and create a Google document or something too.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Remember, that was the Bill Belichick shit comment. Yeah, but no, it's the internet. We'll continue to put things like that on the internet, and that'll be our Google Doc, because public opinion will show us whether we're right or wrong. And even when we're right, public opinion will probably tell us that we're wrong.
I don't know if you picked the Sam Darnold thing. You might have picked the Vikings thing. I'd have to go back.
I'm going to go back.
I will say this: the McNamara injury allowed for this to happen to Sam Darnold, because
the McCarthy injury.
McCarthy. If he doesn't get hurt, Sam Darnold is just keeping the seat warm. That was his whole.
Yeah, that was his job.
And he's looking over his shoulder, And now it's like, oh well, he's gone, so I don't have to worry about, if I make a mistake, they're going to replace me, because who they're going to replace me with.
Exactly.
It's definitely a different dynamic, but I think again, we talked about quarterbacks and situations, and there's a couple of them out there where, again, I think somebody had compared him. Was it you, Chet, that you compared Sam Darnold to Trey Lance?
Yeah,
high draft pick.
Yeah. Yep.
But I also flipped that comparison and said, well, Sam Darnold went to the same situation that Trey Lance did not succeed in and had some success, which got him the opportunity that he had in Minnesota currently. And then again, I think that situation is different because Trey Lance was given the world, didn't know what to do with the talent that he had on the field, with the coaching, how to communicate effectively with his coaches, or his coaches didn't know how to communicate effectively with him. And then again, those two situations where Sam Donald was in San Francisco and now Minnesota, those are both two very similar situations where the athlete has an opportunity to grow because of the mentorship, the coaching, and everything's clicking in a sense where it's just almost as easy as everyone's communicating to each other effectively and they're speaking the same language, they're all on the same page, whatever cliche you want to use. But I mean, that's just the right situation for him. He fell into two of them, both of them gave him a good opportunity, and I hope he capitalizes on this. And I do think that you're right, Jose. It would be smart of him to stay, take less, stay there, and even I don't know what to. It's hard. It's hard for me to put that into perspective as far as the type of athlete that he is. I wouldn't say, look, if you think he's the heir apparent, when you think he's ready to take over, I won't have a problem with stepping down, letting the young kid come in, and then also I won't. Maybe I'll have a trade clause, something in there that states in my contract that when
Yeah.
it does happen, that I'd like to have another opportunity to go somewhere else. But yeah, I think that situation with the coaches and the player personnel. I mean, he's surrounded with talent, which again, quarterbacks can only do so much by themselves. The days of a quarterback, you know, ruling the offensive side of the ball by taking most of the offensive production on their shoulders is it's just not ever going to happen. You still need to have talent around you in order to throw to hand the ball off to take hits for you instead of you taking those hits. So yeah. Yeah, so my week 5 prediction is that Minnesota and Kansas City stay undefeated. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Oh,
Minnesota plays New York in London. It's a neutral site. That's actually one of my picks for the week for Walt's winners. I have 5 different picks, but Vikings over the Jets, and I think it was the Jets are actually 2-point underdogs, so it's not a real blowout. But I think the Vikings are going to win outright and probably win a lot bigger than that 2-point favorite. So what do y'all think about? Oh, and I'm sorry, Kansas City plays the Saints as well, and that's actually one of my other picks because it's not a touchdown yet. I think by the time we get to Sunday, it'll be Kansas City by a touchdown, and I think the Saints are going to cover that. I don't necessarily think Kansas City's going to lose. I just think they're not going to win by more than a touchdown.
all right, Jose, you go.
Well, in those two games, I like Minnesota. I think Minnesota as a team is just overall better from top to bottom. I think offense, defense, special teams, they're really well coached. So I'm with you on that, Nate. I agree with the Chiefs as well. I think you the old Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Woo!
You gotta beat Patrick Mahomes outright. And everybody's, the refs, this, that, and the other. You know what? Don't leave it in the refs' hands. Get up by double digits and put them away early, so that way you don't have to worry about it. Because if you leave him lurking and he gets that ball at the end of the game, it's lights out. So don't let it get there.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah. What do you got on those two games, Chet?
I think the Jets win. I hate it.
What?
I hate it.
Oh my
I hate it. I
You
hate it.
You think Aaron's going to pull an upset, huh?
I do. I think Sam Darnold will go back to Sam Darnold for one game. He'll be fine afterwards, but you got to. every athlete, they do so well and they regress for a game. And he'll be fine after, but like this is the game where he goes back to the old Sam Darnold. So I think the Jets win. And what's the other one? Kansas City versus
The Saints, yeah.
oh the Saints are gonna win that game.
That's a Monday night, actually. That's a Monday's game.
Yeah.
And that
The
I
Saints
want to
win
see
that
where it is.
game by 10.
It's in Kansas
Wow.
City. In Kansas City, the Saints win by 10?
Yep.
Wow.
Because everyone's like Jose, to your point, the media, right? They always go too crazy about one thing or another. The
Yeah.
Saints are a good team. They whooped ass the first 2 weeks, and then everyone gave up on them. They are pissed. They're pissed
Yeah.
off. And
But this is where you find out who they really are. I think.
exactly. So I think they win by 10. I could be wrong. Like if they don't win, then they are who they are. But I think they win by 10 and continue.
Interesting.
Wow, yeah. No, I think we found out who Kansas City is last week against a really good Chargers team.
I know.
And they only won by 7. They had a couple turnovers the offense struggled, and they lose their top wide receiver, their top productive wide receiver. And yeah, they're going to struggle again this week against a New Orleans team their defense is really good still. They haven't been as good on offense as they were the first 2 weeks of the season where they were undefeated.
They won by
Everybody
10.
was talking about them. Yeah, they did, but I just think Kansas City's going to win by 3. They're not going to, they're going to struggle on offense. They're going to struggle to score some points. They're down their top running back. They brought somebody in off of someone else's practice squad. Kareem Hunt, I think his name is, who played for them originally. And then,
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. So I mean, they're struggling, but I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. And to your point, Chet, I don't see any way that the Jets win, just because that like Jose said, that team on both ends of the ball is better than the Jets, and they're much better coached, and I don't see any way that the Jets win that game.
Wait, no,
they might be competitive. They might be more competitive than I think that they can be, but
no, the Jets are going to win that game.
All right, let's put some money on it.
I like it, Chet. I like the way you hold your ground.
Me and you, $20 on you got the Jets, I got Minnesota.
I hate, and just so you know, I can't stand putting any money on the Jets. Like it breaks my heart.
Well, it's going to break my heart to take the $20 from you, but I mean, because you're going against everything every moral bone in your body. You should not be betting on the Jets right now.
This hurts. It hurts so bad. Yeah.
I mean, jeez. The only thing the Jets got going for them is that the Patriots are terrible. Miami is going to be no good. So all they need to do is be almost as good as the Bills. And they'll probably get into the playoffs.
The Jets are a very talented team that's going to figure it out.
Yeah. I just don't like their coach. I'm not a fan of their coach. Saleh.
You don't like Saleh?
He's been there, 5 years? And he's been a mess. He's been a mess. And they've got a great defense. They ran that poor quarterback into the ground the last few years. I mean, it was never his fault. And it was never his fault. And I'm looking at wait a minute, you're the head coach.
Yeah, you drafted. The defense was great. The defense is great. So I'll give you props on that.
Did Saleh ever get a year with Sam Darnold or no?
I think he did.
I think he
did. If he did, it was his last year. Like the last year Darnold was there. Probably it was first year.
When Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts.
Yeah, but I mean, Saleh ran that poor quarterback, and and even when he was playing well, he should have been like, hey, this is on me. We got to scheme better. He should have been taking the heat for that kid.
I agree.
And he didn't. He threw him under the bus. He threw him under the bus, and it's part of the reason why I don't think I think on paper the Jets look great, but they know, hey, this guy's gonna when it comes to his job or ours, he's gonna throw us under the bus. He's not gonna take accountability.
All right. So Nate, $20
$20. Yep.
on record. And if
20
if
bucks. You're
if
betting
I
on the
win-
Jets. I can't believe you. The
if
Jets.
I win,
If the Jets. Go
you pay
ahead.
me $20. If I win, I'm gonna donate it to somewhere because I can't keep it because they fucking hate the Jets. I just think they
Oh, you're gonna pay it to me. Oh, if you win, okay, I got you. Okay.
yeah. If
That's
I
funny.
win,
Oh, if you win,
I'm gonna donate to somewhere else because I fucking hate the Jets. But like I don't know. My gut tells me the Jets are gonna win. I don't know why.
So I don't think the Jets have a chance. Now, if they'd have traded this week for Devontae Adams,
That'd be good.
Devontae Adams could have walked in seamlessly because he knows the offense, knows the quarterback. That would have been a seamless transition. But having said that, he's on the trading block. We know that now. Where do we think his landing spot is going to be? I've already given an example. Something I would like to see again. Getting a commodity for a commodity. The Raiders need some talent at quarterback. I don't know if Bryce Young is the answer. And I also think it's tricky to do in the NFL with a 3-team trade, but if there's a third team that, again, both teams give Carolina picks and then the swap of the two players happens, the Jets do have some commodities in Hassan Reddick that they can get rid of as well. So what do you guys think his landing spot is? We'll start with Chet.
Man, I think he's gonna go to the Jets.
You think so?
Yeah, well, he says I want a quarterback. The Jets have the assets to trade, right? They're doing the win now thing. So I think the Jets. It would be fun if it was New Orleans to back with Carr, and I think there's a 0.3% chance because the Patriots are in on this. A 0.3% chance he goes in the Patriots.
If you're the Jets and you make that trade, what are you giving up? What are you trading for Devontae Adams?
So he's 31, so I'm giving up a second round pick and probably giving you a lineman or a receiver.
So Hassan Reddick, somebody that you traded a third round pick for and he hasn't touched the field?
No, not him, because no one believes in that guy. Fuck that guy. What an asshole, first of all, that guy. No, I'm thinking like they give like a second round pick and then like who's their third pick, their third receiver?
I think on the depth chart it would be Alan Lazard, but
yeah, I agree.
It could be Mike Williams as well. Could be Mike Williams.
If they would take Mike Williams, who's like injury prone and old, that'd be perfect. Like a second round pick and Mike Williams. Let's go.
Throw some bait out there.
Yeah.
What do you think, JB?
Well, I'm with Chet. I think the only place he's going is the Jets. With the only other selling point would be a David Carr reunion. Derek Carr reunion. But I don't think New Orleans wants to part ways with any of their receivers because they got a young receiving core. They've got some older tight ends and running backs, but I think New Orleans likes what they got. I don't think but the Jets are in win now mode, and they need that home run. So, and Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, I need a guy, and I think Lazard is Lazard in a second or third round pick is. I could see the Raiders going, okay, we could probably pull that off, especially a second round pick. I could see him living with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things you could probably, if you're the Raiders try to parlay that into a Bryce Young, hey, we'll give you that second round pick and you give us Bryce Young, but we'll see. Yeah, I just don't see him anywhere but other than him wearing that green.
Yeah. And I think you're both right. And I think the Jets need to make that trade and get Devontae Adams, especially if he's willing to come back and play with Rodgers. I think it's kind of a short-term lease, meaning short-term as in it says he's going to be there as long as Rodgers, like it's a package deal. Because
Yeah.
once Rodgers is done, he's not going to another team. He's just probably done playing. So, but I think that the Jets, just because they are the Jets, they're gonna f this up. They're gonna mess it up, and they're gonna. What's gonna end up happening is they're the value of Devontae Adams is going to go down a little bit because they don't want to pay the price right now, which is, it's a high commodity. It's the highest price that it is. They want to get cute and wait till the price goes down instead of making the trade. Well, meanwhile, while they wait for it to go down, another team is going to get involved because the money is going to be right because the Raiders will pay, half of his contract this year or half of his contract next year. They'll pay more money to get him out to get the commodities that they need.
It's an interesting dynamic. If the Jets do the Jets thing, yeah, they'll fuck it up.
Yeah, they would. If the Jets are Jets. However, the Jets got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I think they might get Adams, and I think that will change the whole atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's just again like the Jets are just gonna jack it up because why wouldn't you? Hell, I would give up my second round next year and a second round in the future. Which let's look at it from a number standpoint. Let's say it's the 50th pick. I'd give up the 50th pick twice for 2 different years to have a guy like that to throw to because the Jets, talent-wise, the Jets already have enough talent to take things to the next level. Why they haven't is like we've talked about. I think it's the coaching and a little bit of the egos that are on the team. But
maybe
I feel like they're going to do the Jet thing and jack it up.
Gentlemen, I have to, I'm locking my phone right now. It tells me.
Are you getting off, Chet?
Yep.
It's the time to go. That's fine. We're done with. Well, if you want to leave it on, you can. We're wrapping up though. Wrapping up.
Oh wait, do we have a wrap up? Because I can stay for that.
Well, the wrap up was just if there were any topics that you guys wanted to talk about that we didn't
want to
hit.
hear. Jose, I'm here for you. What do you got?
Oh, I'm good. I had a good night. It was interesting, and I look forward to being back. Again sometime.
You coming back?
I would like to come back again. It was fun. It was a good conversation. So.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back, man. You're welcome anytime for sure. I will leave you with my
Nate,
dad joke.
Send me his email so I can send it to on the invite so he has it all the time.
Okay, I will. I don't know if I added him or not, but I sent him the link and that's how he got on. But yeah, so my granddad joke is, why did the Avon lady walk funny?
I don't know why.
I don't know.
Because they're lipstick.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. That's a granddad joke, man.
Oh boy.
We laugh at those things, or we don't laugh and just it makes for an awkward moment, which makes.
I heard something funny the other day and I just forgot it now. That joke was just atrocious.
Atrocious. I could turn that joke into something much more degenerate.
Yeah,
that's my job, and I can't do it now.
Well, Chet hasn't heard this one, but what is a teacher that doesn't fart in public called? A private tutor.
Jesus Christ.
Jose heard that. He had the pleasure of hearing that.
I'm going to send that to my wife right now.
He was charming the waitress with that one. She was enjoying his.
She must have loved it.
He was enjoying the Nate-isms,
She was the bartender behind the bar while we were eating brunch. Come on, man, don't church it up. She was, or I should say, don't demote her. She was a bartender, not a.
She was all into Nate's jokes. She was like whatever, But Nate, Nate being Nate, he just kind of flew by him.
I didn't pursue. That's
You know?
my thing. I don't pursue.
Even
It's
when
gonna
they
land in
pursued
my
you,
lap.
even when they pursued you, you kind of like missed the boat. The girl in the boots, blue boots, she was smiling at you, talking to you, moseyed
Next
up.
time.
No, that's
So
what he does. Nate's like, oh, you want me to get hard and put it in wherever you want? Oh no, I'll ignore you. That's what
yeah,
Nate does.
yeah. She's like, she was just one step away from taking his hand and just say, "Okay, you're coming home with me." And
I just need to be more outgoing, more friendly, more open to
All right,
conversation.
Jose, here's
yeah,
what we do, okay? We're gonna find a girl who's a fucking dominatrix or some shit. Make sure that she doesn't give Nate a choice. Then he'd be happy.
yeah.
No.
That's an interesting one. We shall see.
All right, Jose, if you're coming on next week, some homework for you. Chet is doing a six-part series on a review of each of the episodes of Mr. McMahon on Netflix.
I
Yes.
just watched that. I watched the whole thing.
Yes. Perfect.
Uh,
Good.
I
I
did
know
watch the
you're
whole
I
thing.
know you're I know you're a wrestling aficionado and enthusiast
Uh,
like the
I was
rest of us.
I enjoyed it a lot. Not as much recently. Kind of
Yeah, same
gotten.
here.
Yep, got that.
But
Yep.
yeah, you're in the same boat as us. We were D Generation X, The Rock, Stone
Yeah,
Cold, like
yeah.
those iconic
Yeah.
figures.
They
Not
were,
so much Hulk Hogan, but
no,
yeah.
yeah, I grew up with Hulk Hogan, Pedro Morales and Andre the Giant and all them, and that
Yep.
was fun. And then the Attitude Era came, and you know, so those guys were definitely that was a lot of fun in that Attitude Era, that's for sure.
Shawn Michaels is like my real father. He's like that's how I learned how to live. My man.
Uh, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was a Stone Cold guy.
Oh
Uh,
no!
I was
Oh,
too, man.
Nate.
you break that, you hear that breaking glass. I was like,
Nothing better than flipping your boss off at work
yeah,
every
uh,
day.
when he said Austin 316 means I just whooped your ass. That
Oh, oh, I love it. I love it.
and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. I mean those are two lines that you could pretty much use anywhere, and it was just it's awesome. The guy is
Yeah,
awesome.
Nate,
he
you
was.
didn't tell me that we had Jose here, who's a wrestling fan. Jose, listen, from now on this podcast, wrestling reviews. We have to do it.
Oh, I haven't watched. I watched wrestling the other day. It was kind of yeah. I'm like
No, no.
We'll
We
we'll
can do
start with the
we
old
could
school
start. We'll
wrestling.
work our way up. But we could do the McMahon thing. I did. I thought it was interesting.
It was interesting.
Interesting.
It was.
yeah, we'll start with the McMahon review episode by episode. Next week we'll do episode one.
All
So
right.
I'll watch it.
Perfect.
I'll tell
I love
Wally
it.
to watch it so that we can all participate in that. And then
Wait, Jose, is
I
that
think
you
we're going to start
back
the.
next week?
What's that?
Are you back next week?
I'll come back next week for that one.
Yes. Okay. I love it. I love it.
So Jose, anytime you want to come back, even if you just come on for 20 minutes and we talk about
Yep.
whatever you want to talk about, and then you drop off, you're as they say in the radio and podcast business, you're an FOS, a friend of the show. You're always welcome. We'd prefer to have a regular, and just if you want to be part of the show, then the seat will stay open as opposed to we fill it when you're
Yeah.
not here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you're more
and
than welcome.
I'll definitely work on that. Like I said, yeah, it'll be fun. I do watch my grandson, but I'll get him to bed, or if his mom's here, I'll pawn him off. I can go in another room and kind of sit there and do the show. So it'll be fun. He'll probably like it. He'll probably be jumping around behind me.
Yeah. No, bring him in.
Yeah.
Half the time Cameron's running around here with me. Like we're not anti-kid.
So yeah.
Bring him in.
No. It's just he's just like he's funny because he'll be in the middle. He'll just jump right on in. So
Yeah. Yeah. Then maybe him and Cameron can meet. That'd be perfect.
so
We'll make him
that's cool.
famous, man. We'll make him
Hey.
famous.
I gotta make sure his mom's okay with that. I told her all the time. I said, it was a college athlete, but she was a teen mom, and I just told her, I said, you could capitalize on this, make some money. I'm not doing that. Oh, I was like, you could have made a killing, but she didn't, and so I told her, I said, hey, I'm just looking at an aspect of setting you and him up success for the future, but
No,
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
sure. Like, oh, they don't get it sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I told her, I said, I get it. You know, you don't want him out there. You just kind of keep him private, which is good. You know.
That's
Yeah.
it's good. But you're back. You're back next week. What I
Yeah.
heard was you're a regular. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll come back next week for the McMahon one for sure. Especially episode 1. Interesting. But that'll be fun. But again, he's another guy that it surprises me that people are surprised by his behavior.
I agree with you. Like it was so fucking obvious the entire time. Like I
Yeah.
agree. I cannot wait to go over this. Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Next week.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
I love
fun.
it. Can't wait. Nate,
All right, gentlemen.
any
Until
final
next
thoughts?
week.
All righty.
Final thoughts. Great
Yeah.
episode. I do want to start the NIL committee governing body rules and oversight and figure out how to start that. I think I'll work on that this week, and potentially maybe that'll be a topic where we start, and maybe the jump off point is just how do we create a committee? Is it a committee? Is it a governing body? Is it a staff? And then where do we, who would you hire if you had a talent pool? Who would you hire and put in those positions? So start from there, hiring a committee, and then forming whatever the governing body is, how enforcement works, how rules work. Because I did want to talk about that UNLV freaking quarterback that stopped playing after the team was undefeated and gave up on his team. But anyway,
All right.
next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you next
Love
week.
y'all. Appreciate it.
Love you.
Later.
Later.